Man. We're on. Okay, Israel Shalom. Hope everybody's doing well this Sabbath day. Shout out Kawakab and his congregation in Guatemala. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Shout out SOW family in Virginia, Houston, and Rochester, New York. Hope everybody's doing well also. We're back in the grind. We're going into the Greek culture today. And we're going to give a brief overview of their history before we go into how they interacted with the Hebrews once Alexander died. We'll go into that next week. But today we're going to go into the Greek culture, the Greek Empire. But let's get our prayers in first, okay? Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Ha Nothing Award. Zayawam. Tawada.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us light this day. Thank you, so be it.
Okay. Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Ha Nothing Rayak. Naya Tawada.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the sweet Savior. Thank you, so be it.
Imagine Waponya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face to Jerusalem.
Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Barak Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Ha Nothing Hashabbat. Bashalom. Tawada.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it.
Okay. Psalms 121. Anasha. Ayanyamya. Hahara. Ma'aya. Yabu'a. Isaiah. Yabu'a. Ma. Yahweh. Sha'aisha. Shemayim. La'aratiza. La'a. Yonathan. Lamawat. Regalia. Yala'a. Nawam. Shashamaya. Hana. Yala'a. Nawam. Wala'a. Yeshan, Shashawamar, Yashua, Yahweh, Shemaya, Yahweh, Tazalia, Ayo, Yanyamya, Yad, Hashemash, Yala'a, Hakaya, Bayawam, Wala'a, Halabana, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashemaya, Makol, Right, Yashemar, Napasha, Yahweh, Yashemar, Hawalakia,
Aman. Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yasha'Allah shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Israelite Credo. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Yahweh. Achad. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Yahweh. Achad. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Achad.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord.
Lord's Prayer. Abinawah, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malak with Ka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Baratiza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashemayim, Netananawa, Lacham, Kol, Yawam, Wasalachanawa, Chal Wathinawa, Kasalachanawa, Chal Wathinawa, Wala'ah, Fabian Noah. Bonasai what? Abo. Awashino. Mayan. Right. Kaya. Laka. Amalakwa. Waha'ala. Wahathapara. Wahabalamya. Come on.
Matthew chapter 6 verse 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. 10 Commandments. La'ayahaya. Laka. Alahaya. Ayo. Panya.
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2. La'a. Faina. Laka. Pasor. Wala'a. Ta'ibada.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
Number 3. La'a. Falak. Shem. Yahweh. Bashawa.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
Number 4. Zakar. Hayawam. Hashabat. Lakodashwa.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Number 5. Kabad. Abaka. Ya'amaka.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 6. La'a. Zaratazah.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7. La'a. Zana'a.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'a. Tagana.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9. La'a. Ta'ina. Shakwa.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'a. Ta'chamad. Ko. Ashara. La'raika.
Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor's.
Hashem Yahushai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law.
Israel Yishabim.
Everybody seated?
Take seats.
I had a lung capacity today,
Wait,
and I was struggling. No, it wasn't that. It was, I think it's thickness. I don't think it was that. We're good. Okay, we're going to get into the topic really soon. And
this is still introduction to the
Greek Empire.
Yeah.
The Greek Empire and how they affected the Jews. But I think it's important today that we just go into the spirit of Hellenism and what ends up happening when the Greeks or the Edomite kingdom gets their time and the power, and how society changes and how history starts to be slanted a different way. And the way we're going to go at this, we're going to be in the Josephus the majority of the day. We're definitely going to pull in scriptures and history books to connect it. The part of the Josephus we're going to be going into is against Apion. It's in the back of the Josephus. After we go through the antiquities of Jews and the wars of the Jews, there's additional writing called Flavius Josephus against Apion. Okay, and just a quick heads up, Apion was a Hellenized Egyptian, okay, that wrote commentaries on Homer's Greek mythology and his literature, and he critiqued the validity of the Hebrews' beliefs. He critiqued the validity of the antiquity or the history of the Hebrew people. And what you're going to see as we read this dialogue that he is writing in attacking or in defending the Hebrew belief, we're going to get a glimpse into the Greek culture and the spirit behind how they roll and operate. Okay? So, before we even go into the against Apion, have it ready. But the first verse we're going to go into is 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 9. Yeah, we have to lock the doors now because there's There's stalkers in Israel that come in and try to destroy things. So, First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 9. Kariah, let's get started. Let's get you saluted in.
Kariah, Shah Shabbatah, Barashah, Bayasha'ala.
Kariah, Shah Shabbatah, Barashah, Barashah.
I want you.
Yahweh Hashem Yashabakatah.
Yahweh Hashem Yashabakatam.
Right. All right. So, let's read this. First Maccabees 1 and 9.
Okay. First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
This is talking about after the death of Alexander the Great, or the Greek. All of his generals that were trusted, that he worked with, they end up start divvying up the vast empire that the Greeks had. That the Greek Empire had. So it was split up in into four regions by four generals. Was that?
And he was leopard-like because he had conquered so much land.
Well, he wasn't leopard. Just to be clear, he was his empire was referred to as the leopard because of the swiftness of his victories and the swiftness of the accumulation of that entire territory from Asia, which is in Turkey, all the way to the Persian Median Empire. He did it in like 3 years. Okay, now the entire accumulation of the land took a little bit longer, but in around 3 years he took out the Persians. Once he started heading from Turkey all the way down to Egypt and onward to defeating the Persian Empire. That was around 3.5 years. So the swiftness in taking out the Persians is why he is referred to as the leopard, or the Greek Empire was referred to as the leopard. Now, after Alexander died, because Alexander also was known to have a reverence towards the Heavenly Father and have a reverence towards the Hebrew belief, or any belief system that was tied into a higher power. He had a connection to it, or had a proclivity to respect it. But after he died and his generals came into power, they didn't have the same belief systems as he did. So after he died, his generals and then their children afterwards laid the groundworks of these empires that established the Greek society. So let's continue in verse 9.
Okay. It says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years.
So once again, the generals and their sons, they start having their own empires, like the Ptolemies in Egypt. Ptolemy was like the king name, like Caesar. You had Ptolemy 1, Ptolemy Soter, which is Ptolemy 1. Ptolemy 2 was Ptolemy Philadelphus. Then you had a bunch of other Ptolemies down the line. Just like the name Cleopatra was a name for a queen or a female. Okay, and Cleopatra was not black. I don't know if y'all knew that. Cleopatra was lily white. All the Cleopatras were lily white. They were either, the Cleopatras were either white from the Ptolemy line, or the Cleopatras was white from the Seleucid line. They were never black. That's one thing the white men got right in their movies. When they had, what was that woman that played Cleopatra? Elizabeth Taylor. They were spot on when they sat back here and had her in the picture as Cleopatra. So, the sons, those generals that were in power, we'll go into all the generals later. I don't really want to go into all the depth of it, but it was Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucus. Those are the four generals. And there's a little more history there too, but once again, I don't want to go into all of it. It'll take away from the class. So these four generals and then their sons were reigning in that Greek area, the Greek territory, for many generations. Read on.
And evils were multiplied in the earth.
Evils were multiplied in the earth, and there's different ways to explain the evils that were multiplied in the earth once the Greek Empire started taking charge. Okay, we know the Greeks' proclivity for their sexuality, and it's well documented that was pushed as a real thing, to sit back here and choose your gender and to choose your gender and to choose your opposite gender and to experience both sides. That was a Greek thing heavily.
Hedonism.
Hedonism.
That's an aspect of it.
Yeah, just indulgence of pleasure.
Indulgence of pleasure, and that type of lust was fed in the Greek Empire. But also, today we're going to go into how evils were multiplied from a different perspective. We know about the laws that the Greeks were breaking, how they were following the laws of the Most High. After Alexander died, they really didn't have a respect like that for the law. Every once in a while, you'd find a leader or two that had respect, but for the most part, that wasn't their thing. And at the very most, they might have a respect for it, but it wasn't mean they're going to live their life according to it. But this all makes sense as we continue in the class. Now let's go against Apion, and we're going to explain another way of how evils were multiplied on the earth. Are you there, Cry? Against Apion. We're going to be against Apion, book 1, paragraph 1.
Okay, come on. I'm right here.
I want to get this out.
What?
No, I want to get against Apion. You have it on you?
Yeah, I got it. Man.
All right.
I don't have it on me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
let's read this against Apion.
All right.
Book 1, paragraph 1.
Fine. Josephus against Apion, book 1, paragraph 1.
We're going to be taking our time and stopping as Josephus is kind. The purpose of this writing really is the defense of the Hebrew faith and the foundation of the Hebrew history. And this is why we're even going into it. Because the Hebrew history was being attacked. And the validity of our Hebrew history was being attacked, and the relevance of the Hebrew history was being attacked even at this time. There is a reason when you sit back here and you go out here and you hear black men teaching about the Bible, it's scoffed at. It's completely disrespected. When you sit back here and see our people teaching about our identity and how we can connect our identity to the Bible, and we're laughed at and we're not respected, there's a reason to that. It goes back historically since the time of the Greeks. So, let's read paragraph 1.
Kind. It says, I suppose that by my books of the antiquities of the Jews, most excellent Epaphroditus, have made it evident to those who peruse them that our Jewish nation is of very great antiquity.
Our Hebrew nation is a very great antiquity. Antiquity means has very great history, has very great roots. Listen, our roots go all the way back to Adam. Our roots go back to the beginning of time. Our roots go back to the first inhabitants of the earth. Okay, this is why it's important what Josephus is pushing. Now, let's keep things honest. Josephus was in Rome at the time. Josephus was a Levite priest who was captured when Israel fell. He was captured and he was going to get killed as being a traitor to the empire of Rome. He made a deal with the empire and with the emperor of Rome, Vespasian, so he would be allowed to live and advise the Romans on Hebrew affairs and write history and to maintain the history of the Hebrew people. In some lights, Josephus was looked upon as a traitor to his nation. We got to make sure we're as clear as possible in the history of this man. But one thing that can't be debated is his importance to our culture, because he is one of the few people that we still have record of that had very clear, up-to-date records of our people and our history. So he is valuable because he is able to sit back and explain the history of our people with a lot more clarity than records have been shown over the years. So what Josephus is explaining is that our Hebrew is rich, the history is long, long and extensive. Read on.
It says, and had a distinct substance of its own original.
So we had our own originality. We had our own language, our own history, our own antiquity.
That's important.
Our own value. Because listen, why is it important? Because that's how you can maintain confidence, self-esteem, self-worth. It starts off with knowing your history. This is why it's so important that our people, the so-called Negroes, the indigenous people of North, Central, and South America, go back to their history and learn who they are, their language, their identity, their culture, the important people that we're supposed to pattern our life after. So the reason Josephus is, you're going to read, he's in a very defensive mode, because the history and the history and the need to protect it was really heavy on this man's mind at the time.
Yeah, because in the Greek culture, you had respected philosophers like Aristotle.
Don't go too far forward.
No,
I just want to make sure.
Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Pythagoras, Heraclitus. So if you weren't these scholars, they didn't recognize you. If you weren't one of these Greek philosophers,
and that's what he's going to explain
in these schools of thought. So that's why Josephus has to defend the Hebrew faith, because they didn't come from this epicenter of supposed knowledge.
And this is the whole thing, because when he's writing this second part after the Josephus. This was done in 97 AD. So the Greeks came into power around 333, 331. So there's around 400 years space of time of Greek culture pushed, taught, delivered,
educated,
and educated, and pretty much, if you want to learn education, you got to learn the Greek way.
So
You hold on. If you was in Egypt, if you were a young boy that was an Egyptian or a Hebrew, you had to learn Greek. This is the school system started being set up in a way where Greek culture was the standard. The lessons, if you want education, you got to go the Greek way. No other lessons and no other education was respected at the time. And that was from Greece all the way down to the Persian Empire. So that's pretty much the whole known world. Greece, Egypt, Turkey. Everything you read about in the New Testament was covered by the Greek Empire. Education was Greek. Most people were speaking Greek at the time. The world was changing. It was no more at a point where you were able to keep your language and that's it. Most Hebrews, even in Jerusalem, knew Greek. This was the movement at the time. And they understood, Esau understood, an aspect of maintaining control over all of these people is to get people to buy into the language and the culture of their oppressors. And they need to be taught that this history and this knowledge is more important and greater and substantial than everybody else's culture and knowledge. And this is the movement that was going on with the Greek people. They were trying to sit back here as they're uplifting the Greek knowledge and history. They were downgrading the knowledge and the history of the Egyptians, the Hebrews, the Babylonians, the people who actually established the culture that actually made the Greeks the Greeks. But we'll go into that. So there is a reason Josephus is in a very defensive position as he's writing about the history of the Hebrew antiquity, the Hebrew histories. So let's continue.
It says, as also I have therein declared how we came to inhabit this country wherein we now live.
So he says, in the writings of the antiquities of the Jews, I explain how we got to Israel in the first place. And he explains that when we came from Babylon, we worked our way to Syria, came back down to Egypt, and worked our way all throughout the land of Canaan. Ended up going back to Egypt when the famine came. and the nation left Egypt during deliverance and got ourselves back to Canaan. He's explaining all that antiquity from the beginning, from Genesis on. Continue.
Those antiquities contain the history of 5,000 years.
He says in his history books, he has history of the Hebrews that date 5,000 years back. He's saying that's what he's saying is that's history that can't be debated, should be respected and acknowledged in the whole known world, our Hebrew history. And the reason he's in such a defensive position is because of 5,000 years of black Hebrew history was being minimalized, forgotten, and being talked about as if it really didn't happen, and that the nation of Israel was way more younger than prophets and historians are saying. So you got one or two guys or a handful of Hebrews are trying to say, hey, we go back to the beginning. But this white culture, this Greek culture was sitting back here, and from that time was saying, nah, that Hebrew stuff isn't even worth talking about. We're going to talk about Egypt. We're going to talk about Phoenicia. We're going to talk about Babylon. And when you sit back and look at history books, when you sit back here and look at the beginning of time, they always start with Hammurabi's Code,
Yep.
that little boy in Samaria, the land of Ur. And they start with civilization there. Then it goes to Greece. Then it goes to Egypt. And then they somehow tie in Greece as if they had connections with the Phoenician Empire and the Egyptian Empire. And they say Greek's empire and their history was tied into the history of Egypt and Phoenicia. But we're going to go into that. This is what was being pushed back in the time of 97 AD. And that is still being pushed now. The reason we're going into it is because it's still being pushed now.
Right, but instead of Hellenization, it's called Westernization.
Come.
But which is the same culture being pushed in our educational systems.
Yep. And this is how our history, our black Hebrew history, it started getting X'd out 2,000 years ago. That reprogramming of our minds and that programming of making our black people look like we're less than nothing, that was happening in the 300s, in the 200 BCs. Where the idea and notion of Hebrews and our people that actually having history didn't mean anything. This is why when you sit back here and look at history books in elementary school, middle school, and high school, you very rarely see the accomplishments of dark-skinned people.
That's why today Indians are called savages. And Negroes were called spear chuckers.
All you're going to see is some African pictures and some slavery pictures when you see black people.
Yep.
You don't see anything that deals with accomplishment. But that was not a American thing, a U.S. thing. And that wasn't even like a colonial Renaissance thing. That happened damn near as soon as the Greeks got in the scene. They started doing that. That is an aspect of the evils that were spread in the world. What they were doing, they were sitting back here and changing history. That's that level of history, that's the level of evil that's going around in the world. Changing history, changing the identity of the people who really matter. You're going to throw away 5,000 years of history because it doesn't suit you? And you're uplifting people that you don't want to be uplifting? But let's continue.
God. It says, and are taken out of our sacred books.
Read the those antiquities part again from the top.
God. It says, those antiquities contain the history of 5,000 years and are taken out of our sacred books.
So all Josephus is saying is, listen, this 5,000 years of history comes directly out of the Bible. So what is he telling you? The Bible is a what? A history book. And it's the Jews' history book. It's our history book. So what were they saying that the Greeks were trying to do? They were trying to eradicate the Bible out of the world. They were trying to eradicate the history of the Bible out of the world. That was the intention from the beginning. They just later on, when they became the Romans, couldn't control the spread of, air quote, Christianity. They couldn't control the spread of the Bible. During Roman times, they tried, though. Many times they were kicking out Jews from Rome, Christians from Rome, because of their beliefs. They were trying to eradicate the Bible even back then. But Esau from the beginning was eradicating the Bible and putting themselves in position as having the higher learning, the higher education, the higher value. Because they understood we can sit back here and break people through education. And the idea that we are the educated, the most put together, the most composed, and the most intelligent people on the earth. This was how the Greeks were able to establish leverage around the world. But Josephus like, listen, man, our history is 5,000 years old, and you're going to want to sit back here and wipe it off the map like it didn't happen? Yes.
It makes sense, man. This makes so much sense. How even these people try to make it a law for us to not even want to read. It makes so much sense, though. It's crazy, bro.
Well, that was back in the day of the slavery.
Yeah.
But you know the problem is we don't have a proclivity to read, and Esau used that to his advantage too. But let's continue.
It says, but are translated by me into the Greek tongue.
But he says he at this time was translating this book of history in Greek tongue for the defense of the Hebrew nation. Even Philo, when you sit back here and read about Philo was a Hebrew that understood Greek, read Greek, was learning in Greek. He lived in Alexandria. He was around that environment also. Philo's job also in his way was to validate the Bible and our history. But what he did is he tried to sit back here and take the Hebrew culture and teach it in a way in which the Greeks would respect it. What you're seeing is all throughout the world, Hebrew culture was being attacked and it wasn't respected. That's the thing. Let's continue. And don't forget, this is 97 AD. So this is after the fall. This is after our fall. So it's even worse now. We weren't even living in Israel at this time. So this was really where the knowledge of who we were started getting scarce on earth. Because now we're all hidden in Africa, running in Africa, or slaves in Rome, being called Roman citizens. So it's even that much more important that somebody keeps the records and keeps the history of who we are, so that the knowledge of our people are still alive and sustained even to this day. Read on.
Line number 2. However, since I observe a considerable number of people giving
matter of fact, hold on. I'm trying to make sure that just keep reading.
Line number 2. However, since I observe a considerable number of people giving ear to the reproaches that are laid against us by those who bear ill will to us.
He's saying there's a lot of people in the earth that are purposely trying to destroy who we are and have a personal vendetta against the Hebrew people. He knows that's the case even with the Romans. He has to be very careful not to criticize Rome because he's living in Rome and they're keeping him alive. So Josephus is focusing his attention on the Greeks. But if you're talking about the Greeks, you're also talking about who? Rome. They're the same nation of people. We'll go into that also. They come from the same people. The Roman Empire and the Roman people was a branch off of a Greek man that left the Greek country during the Trojan War and made his way down to Italy. And he is credited as to being the one who established the Roman Empire. But we'll go on that in a little bit. Well, let's continue.
It says, and will not believe what I have written concerning the antiquity of our nation.
There's a lot of people out there, a lot of Greeks that wasn't going to believe the history of the Jew. This was what we were going against even then. Our history was being forgotten, was being discredited, was being lied on. And if the people in power are saying our history don't make no sense and it ain't true, the majority of the people are going to believe it. Am I right or wrong? When we sit back here online and teach about the scriptures, and Esau says, man, that's baloney. Most people are going to believe who? The white man.
You know why? Because the old saying is, to the victor go the spoils.
Huh?
So to the winners of wars, they get to dictate what history looks like
And rewrite history.
and what it sounds like.
Uh-huh.
And they dictate what you learn in school, because they're the ones that overthrew and became the superior, civilization at that time by way of war.
And Esau understood, even from the Greek time, the way you break people is to educate them a certain way.
Yeah.
And change your education and take away the pride in who they are and replace it with being proud of being a part of the Greek culture.
And that's why there's Indian schools.
Huh?
That's why there were Indian schools, which Joe Biden just apologized for. And he said, if you Indians never got an apology, well, I'm apologizing today.
And give me my votes in
Yeah.
2024 so I can beat this guy Trump.
Yeah.
So we can keep spending money and going to war with Ukraine.
Here's your apology.
He'll take his aviator glasses off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Native Indian man.
Yeah, he did. He did. No, just this year. Because what he's saying is that they know that they've been guilty. Just ain't nobody ever talk about it.
Yeah.
From taking Running Bear's hair, cutting it off,
Changing his name.
changed his name to Bobby,
Yep.
and speaking English now.
Carlisle School. That was one of
Yep.
the most famous ones in Oklahoma. When they sat back and take you from all the reservations and bring you to Oklahoma and break you.
Yep.
And you're going to wear white man suits and wear bowl cuts.
And there's one
Low-cut fades
in
out.
Canada where they found dead bodies on the perimeter, like little boy bodies on the perimeter. So if you weren't following their compliant, they'd kill you and they'd bury you in the backyard.
Ain't nobody going to say nothing.
Nobody gonna say nothing.
But this is how they indoctrinate entire societies. The first thing they do is shame you and embarrass you and make you feel bad because of who you are. And they say, oh, you don't roll like us. You're a weirdo. You don't dress like us. You don't talk like us. You don't got culture like us. You're the oddball. So this is what's happening in 300 BC, 200 BC, 100 BC. The reputation, the funny thing is, the Romans still were leaning to the Greeks' ideology and belief systems. And there were a lot of Romans, yeah, they spoke Latin, but Greek was still the language of the world. Everybody was speaking Greek. Everybody was tapping into this Hellenized culture. And one of the cultures that was getting forgotten about was the Hebrew culture. Just like our Hebrew culture is being forgotten now. Let's continue.
Right. It says, while they take it for a plain sign that our nation is of a late date.
He says, they say our nation is of a late date. What does that mean? What the Greeks were trying to imply is that the Jews nation just got started. They're this upstart country that was here and now they're gone. Forget about them. They were trying to discard how far back our history goes. This is what the Greek culture was. You guys had a late date. You guys had a late start to becoming a nation. So what they're saying is we had a larger, greater history than you guys. You guys just got started. They're tearing down the fabric of what makes us special. We were God's chosen people from the beginning. He made all the world, but after he made us. Isn't that what the scripture said in Deuteronomy? He sat back here and set up everybody else's ancestral lands after he gave us our ancestral land. That doesn't sound like we're a country of a late date.
Yeah.
That sounds like we were a country that was thought about and considered from the very beginning of time. That brings validation to the black man. Because don't forget, they knew who we were. They knew what we looked like. So they had to sit back here and tear down our identity and our history. And as we read later on in this class, there's another reason why they had to discredit us. because we knew their dirty secret. Our people knew their dirty secret. They knew where they really came from. So they definitely got to break us. But let's continue.
It says, because they are not so much as vouchsafed a bare mention by the most famous historiographers among the Grecians.
And like that was what Shawan was saying. What were those names again of those Greek scholars?
Plato,
Herodotus, right?
Herodotus, Socrates. Heraclitus.
That's the one I was trying to find.
Pythagoras,
yep. All those guys, they say nobody vouchsafed our history. All the top writers and the historians that were during that Greek age, none of them validated the Jew. None of them validated the black Hebrew Israelite and their accomplishments and how great they were. Mm-hmm. And he says, this is why I got to sit back here on my platform and push our history as much as possible. Because if somebody doesn't speak out, we're going to be forgotten forever. This is what he's coming from. Read on.
Line 3.
Does that make sense? Let's go. Yes, sir.
Flavius
Josephus.
He was an Israelite?
He was a Levite.
Oh, okay.
So he had an understanding about history and was taught it. Don't forget, you can't even be a priest till you're 30. So that means, what are you doing until you're 30? You're learning and being taught and retaught and retaught and taught and taught and taught again. So he was sitting back here. He was a scholar of the book. He was a scribe. Because that's what they were taught to do. They had to know the book. Back and forth. So he was a scribe. He had the history. And he is trying to fight to keep our identity alive. Like what we're doing now. It seems like if we don't keep teaching, 2 generations, we're going to be forgotten about. Especially the morals and ethics we learned in the 90s and 80s. If we don't keep that going on, it's going to be forgotten about that. What made the camps potent back then? Everything's going to be virtual and no hands-on at all. Because a lot of people teaching here don't remember how things were in the 80s and 90s. They don't know the good and the bad. You got to know both to keep what makes what the aspects of the work important and to discard what needs to get fixed. But you got to have that history on top. So keeping your history, remembering your history is everything. Because you can see in society there's so many pulls to sit back and not care about who you are. Look at the education system. Just know you're American. You were a slave, but now you're not a slave anymore. Now you're American. You have just as fair of a shot as everybody else. That's what I want you to sit back here and operate and completely forget about everything before slavery. You can remember a little bit. You can remember that you were nothing. You were picking cotton. You can learn about that. There's plenty of books about slavery, like Bullwhip Days and all these stories about lynching the black man. Read about that, but don't overharp on it. But there's nothing outside of that. The so-called Mexican, yes, Diego Cortez whipped you up, but now your life is better, right? You're American. You're not in Mexico. You won. Congratulations. But there's nothing before that. What's that?
Or in the Bible, as far as Christianity, their teaching form, the only black guy in the Bible was the guy that helped Christ when he fell down. He helped him.
You mean the Samaritan?
No, there was a guy that Christ dropped the cross, and a black guy helped Christ pick it up.
I didn't even know that was like a real thing.
That's the only black guy that's acknowledged in the Bible, according to Western Christian history. Their way of putting it.
Bro, that's horrible. But you're seeing how the white man from the beginning understood once Alexander died and the kingdoms were already installed. Now we have to start indoctrinating these people. It's not good enough that we conquer them and they pay us money and they pay us tariffs and a certain percentage off of their harvest. That's not enough. If we're going to sit back here and maintain this, we have to indoctrinize their mind. and make them think that our history, that we have to make them think that we actually have a history, that we have an actual history to respect. And as we're trying to teach people about a history that we're making up on the fly, we got to also discredit everybody else's history. This is what they were doing in the Greek times. This is what Hellenization or Western civilization philosophy is all about.
And it's still active today.
It is still active today. Listen, Western civilization philosophy knocks down every other history in the world. China ain't got no history. Russia ain't got no history. None of these folks got history. None of history means nothing. But let's talk about 1776. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about 1776. Let's talk about the War of 1812. Let's talk about the Louisiana Purchase.
How we came up of the Greeks.
Let's talk about the manifest destiny of the United States. Let's talk about these Greeks. Let's talk about how Rome was perfect and great, and how great of a kingdom Rome was. It's like history don't even matter leading up to pre-Greek times. And this is what he's saying. Like, none of this history in the past means nothing. Anyway, this is what's happening. What's up?
It's an article. Recent research suggests that ancestors of humans and apes may have originated in Europe, not Africa. Now, this was said in 2023. They also said new evidence suggests mankind started in Europe, not Africa, in 2017. Then they said new evidence suggests that mankind started in Europe in 2019. Then they said new evidence suggests mankind started in Europe in 2023. Like every 3 years, every 2 years, there's some new evidence that mankind started in Europe.
And there's new evidence that makes the white man a hero.
Yeah.
There's always a new writing, a new book that says the white man's the hero and the white man's special. And you know what? He can do no wrong. There's always something new that's saying that he's like Liam Neeson. He's always like Liam Neeson's always got the answers. Why does every movie get all the answers? He's got a particular set of skills. He's so intelligent. He's so poised. He's so calm under pressure.
Yeah.
He's killing wolves in Alaska.
Yeah, he's the last.
He's sitting back here.
He's Rambo.
He's an oil-filled rig master.
He's Rambo.
He's Rambo.
He's the last samurai.
He's a CIA guy. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, he's always like this
guy is the man.
The last American action hero.
And he was like a badass hitman in an Italian mob world. Like, what's going on? You're just cold as hell, man. You can't be killed nowhere, right?
John Wayne.
You can't be killed. Bro, it's the truth. This guy is unbreakable.
Hero of the frontier.
The country western. He's everything.
He's Superman.
And you're starting to see, this is how the world was different and became different. Listen, at least the Persians had a respect for other people's countries and ways of doing things. And that wasn't meddled with. Part of the new evils coming on the earth. It wasn't idolatry. Idolatry's been going on. Wickedness has been going on.
Yep.
But the sitting back here and defaming of countries' cultures and who they are, that was a whole other level of wickedness that wasn't being perpetrated in the world.
Or sweep them under the rug.
Egypt did what they did. They let the Jews be the Jews. Believe what you want to believe. We're going to do our Egyptian stuff.
Now they're saying Egyptians were Caucasians, were white.
But we're going to go into that. But this is how Esau, the white man rolls. We have to falsely prop ourselves up while discrediting everybody else around them. And this is what Josephus is writing in 97 AD. And we're still facing it now. Read on.
Line number 3. I therefore have thought myself under an obligation to write somewhat briefly about these subjects in order to convict those that reproach us.
He says we got to sit back here and fight back to make sure that we defend ourselves against all these writers, all these pundits, all these authors that have all this respect and that are attacking us. Somebody got to step up and defend ourselves and defend our people.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we have to do. Whether people believe it or not, they want to believe Esau, cool, believe it. But somebody got to say, man, that ain't right. And a lot of what they're saying in history are lies. Because this is what Josephus is saying. A lot of what was being talked about are lies. Let's continue.
In order to convict those that reproach us of spite and voluntary falsehood.
He says they're voluntarily just lying out, and out of spite, they're omitting our history and our significance in the world. Read on. Listen, who is anybody ever watched like those Alexander movies? And how you might read about Alexander in Greece, you'll read about him in Turkey, you read about him wiping out the Tyrians, Zidonians. You'll even read about him in Egypt, giving respect to the priests. Has anybody ever read about Alexander bowing down, coming off his horse and bowing down to the high priest in Israel? They omit it. We went over this like last week, and brother said, man, I never knew. I think you said it, Joy. I never knew Alexander had that much reverence for the Israelite high priest. It's like writers scratching out the history books. This is examples of how the Greek people did. We have to eradicate and erase history of our connection with the Jews. Anything that talks about a respect towards the Hebrews, we got to get that out of history. It's telling you how the Greeks started learning from the beginning to start rewriting history and changing it the way that it fits them. Okay? Read on. But this was perfected when the white man came into power. And this is history. This isn't like awards just making stuff up. You can read it here, and your eyes can see it now. And it's been happening all the time in between. We're in 2024. It happened in 97 AD. And all the time in between, you've been getting whitewashed history.
Fake news.
Fake news, partial news, halfway news. You know, they interviewed Denzel. He says, you know what? He wouldn't act like he was real smart when he said, he says, you know what? If you get the news, you're halfway informed. What did he say? You heard that statement? He said that if you get the news, you're ill-informed. If you don't listen to the news, you're uninformed. He's getting all deep. What he's saying, media only gives you a partial slant of truth. You don't get the real thing. But let's continue.
I therefore have thought myself under an obligation to write somewhat briefly.
Hold on. Okay, yeah, keep going.
About these subjects, in order to convict those that reproach us of spite and voluntary falsehood, and to correct the ignorance of others, and withal to instruct all those who are desirous of knowing the truth of what great antiquity we really are.
It's so important to make sure that history remembers us so that we don't forget who we are, okay? Let's go to Daniel chapter 7 and 25.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Let me get there real quick. I'm sorry. Let me get there real quick.
We almost started 23.
Yeah, let's see. Well, the only reason I didn't go to 23 because it was breaking down the fourth beast, and the fourth beast is Greece. I mean, it's Rome. That's why I was like, I know. Let's go to verse 23, and I'll explain it.
God. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth.
So the fourth beast is the fourth kingdom on earth. That fourth beast is talking about the Roman Empire. We do know that Greece is an extension of the Roman Empire.
It was a Greco-Roman Empire for 200 years.
Exactly. So when you're reading about the fourth empire, you're still talking about Edomites. The Greeks were the third. Rome was the fourth.
Because even when Rome was born, they still kept the Greek culture alive, even though they dominated the currency and they dominated the hierarchy and the Senate and the politics of the world. They still kept the Greek culture alive in the educational systems. They didn't do away with the Greek educational system.
So that's the thing. So they maintain the way and the thinking of the Greek people. So let's continue.
Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms.
They're diverse from all kingdoms because how they separate, how they do their education, how they run their kingdom was different than the rest of the people. And we read in 1 Maccabees 1 and 9 that different way was a different type of evil, which it was. But let's continue.
And shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down.
And they're going to sit back here and tread down the earth with their military. This is Rome also. But with their military, with their policies. Read on.
And break it in pieces.
And we know Rome was built and established by their war and their military dominance. Read on.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them.
So we're still dealing with the Roman Empire and all of their vassal countries that supported and maintained the dominance of the Roman Empire. Read on.
And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
And this is also talking about America, but I don't want to go into all that right now. Continue.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
But whether it's the Greek Empire or the Roman Empire, one thing is the same. Their propaganda, how they teach their religion, even when they established Christianity as the foundation of the New World, when they left to Spain, they pretty much said, we're going to go here and we're going to teach these Indians about Christ. They taught the natives about Christ, but it was really about destroying them, killing them, and subjugating the people. Was it really about teaching Christ? Because the methods in the scriptures that talk about Christ say nothing about colonizing and wiping out people being the Christ way. So they use Christianity as a guise to go and kill people and mass murder millions. Okay? So he'll speak great words against the Most High.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
One way to speak great words against the Most High is to say that the children of the Most High aren't relevant. The history of the Most High's people don't matter. One way to speak great words against the Most High is to put yourself as the main character in the Bible prophecy once you realize you couldn't do away with the history. The Greeks' first approach was to do what? Let's do away with it. Let's do away with the Greek. Let's do away with the Hebrew history. Let's tell everybody that it's a new history, that they just got started, and let's discredit them. That was the first ploy by the Greeks. Once the Greeks realized that ploy still didn't work altogether, then the next play is let's make us the main characters of the Bible. Get what I'm saying? They couldn't do that at that time because the whole world knew the Jew had the laws, and their laws and their ways were totally different from the rest of the world.
And excelled the rest of the world.
But so they couldn't sit back and put themselves in that position yet. It was too fresh. It's like sitting back here and you can't change history about what everybody has seen. You have to wait 50, 60 years, then change who the main characters were in these historical scenarios.
You give it another 50 years, Michael Jordan gonna have blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yes, he will. But they first of all, they got to let all the people who saw Jordan go. Jordan got to die. Everybody that ever saw Jordan got to die. Then you got to get rid of all the video footage.
Yeah.
Then you can start sitting back here and get a white guy with a bald head and say, this man was Michael Jordan.
He gonna play Michael Jordan.
This is the history.
Yeah, the new biography.
Exactly, yeah. That's how it works. So you have to let time fall off. So the Jews just fell out of Jerusalem in 70 AD. This is 97 AD. This is still fresh. We just got to box you out and discredit you until we can replace you and put our face on it. This is how it's been going on.
I'm going to read this too.
Okay.
This is an article. It says one of the most effective tactics used to justify anti-black racism and white supremacy has been scientific racism. Through the years, scientific racism has taken many forms, all with the goal of co-opting the authority of science as objective knowledge to justify racial inequality. Some 19th century scientists, like Harvard's Louis Agassiz, were proponents of polygenism, which posited that the human races were distinct species. This theory was supported by pseudoscientific methods like craniometry, which the measurement of the human skull, which supposedly proved that white people were biologically superior to blacks. Early statistical health data was weaponized against black Americans in the late 1800s, and it was used to claim they were predisposed to disease and destined for extinction. So all that race science that we heard about that was created in the 1800s, 1900s, is just another justification, and it's just another form to discredit our accomplishments, who we are as a people, and why we should be eliminated and boost them up. And they were doing it. They're doing it now, and they were doing it back then. And we read it both in history and in the current time frame.
Brother, this is how Esau rose. So let's continue.
God.
Let's go back in Daniel 7:25.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
So listen, the doctrine is where it's attacking the Most High. They're destroying the saints of the Most High by the food that they give us, by the indoctrination they give us, by the societal situation we're put in, destroys us, and are created to destroy us. So they're attacking the Most High, how we view the Most High. They're attacking how the world looks at us in regards to being the Most High's people. Read on. Then it says they change times and laws. Esau changes everything. They change calendars. They change history. They change how certain people of antiquity look like, how they carried themselves.
The start of history. Start of civilization and cultures.
Everything is changed and attacked to fit, whether it's the Greco-Roman way, American society way, the British way, the so-called white man's way. And that type of changing of histories really, really started with the Greeks and with the white people, because everybody else was allowed to maintain their culture. That was never an issue. Their culture, who they are. Hell, the nation didn't even chip on our belief system. Anyway, so let's let all that go. I don't want to go to the rest of it. Let's get back in antiquities. Matter of fact, no. I want to go in this book called Great Jewish Personalities in Ancient and Medieval Times, because it fits right in to the story. Page 100 and 101. It says, since many Jews no longer understood Hebrew, the Bible was translated into Greek Septuagint. During the Greek time, when the Greeks got into power, Hebrew was not the number one language in our own country. And if Hebrew was the number one language in our country, you think it was any different anywhere else in the world? Yes, sis. Great Jewish Personalities in Ancient and Medieval Times by Novak. But they're saying that during the time when the Greeks came in, we weren't even speaking Hebrew. Think about that. They were changing our identity off rip. So most people weren't even speaking Hebrew. They were speaking in Greek. So the Septuagint, the Bible was written in Greek so that the majority of the world can understand the Bible. But they were attacking the validity of the Bible that was written in Greek. Then it says, during the 3rd century BC, that's around 300 BC, because Jews were often derided for what was described as the crudeness and primitiveness of the Bible. They were saying the Bible was crude, base, and primitive. This is how they were attacking the book. They were attacking, but you know what? The Odyssey was the greatest book ever. Yeah. The Iliad was the greatest damn book ever.
For now.
That was foul. That was nothing in comparison to the scale of 5,000 years of Hebrew history. But just because a white guy called Plato, or a white guy played Heracles, what was that guy? You said that Heracles, or what did you say his name? Heraclitus or Herodotus. Just because they said the Bible is crude.
I'm gonna call him Cletus.
Yeah, Cletus. Exactly. Just because they say the Bible is crude and it's primitive, then everybody else all of a sudden says, yeah, the Bible is primitive. The Septuagint is bad. Because the Greeks said it was bad.
Because National Geographic said something. It's
the Guardian. It's Fox News.
But it's these publications that are so-called the highest educated publications, and they use these groups to tear down common sense and scriptural understanding.
The Smithsonian is a major one.
Smithsonian is one of the worst.
They're one of the worst. Because they hide all the histories, and they only release certain things, and they only let certain people decipher certain tablets and certain writings.
Yep.
Then they tell you what it means. What they tell you what their scholars say it means.
Exactly, and then you gotta if you don't believe it, you're a kooky. These guys are educated. These guys are smart guys. What are you talking about? These guys have all these degrees.
They're lettered.
What university did you go to?
There you go.
These guys are certified from this board.
But from who? See, they make these organizations like the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
They just pay a title and say, this is how things should be.
Be careful about that World Health stuff.
I'm not saying too much.
You better get us in trouble out.
I know. I was already. They released something. Algorithm jail out.
Yeah.
So we're good.
For now.
But what happens is they create a title, and they give that title supremacy, and they respect that title in public, and then they change all kind of codes. Now you have to submit to the code of this organization.
So they're saying that the Bible is barbaric, it's crude, it's base writing, it's low-level information. So guys like Josephus was like, we got to defend what we are in our history. Because if not, these white folks going to sit back here and wipe us off the map. And totally forget about us. And the whole world will believe it. Including our own people.
You guys were monkeys, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys were monkeys in Africa, bro. I remember what you were doing. That's not what we're doing.
Y'all had tails.
Yeah.
Tails.
Come on, huh?
Look at the cartoons. Look at the 1920s and 30s cartoons when they have Porky Pig flying to Africa. Into the dark Africa. It was one of the worst, most racist cartoons you could see.
And the ancient mammy that was talking to Tom. Whoa, you ready to get on this home, Tom?
Yeah.
Tom, I'm about to get you.
You only see her ankles.
Yeah, her ankles and her hips, huh?
Yeah.
And her hands like this.
She was always on the porch.
It was embarrassing, huh?
Yeah.
But that was what they were giving you.
And those Disney shows.
And I don't know if you remember this movie. Yeah. I don't remember the title, but it was right after Slavery Act. And they made this movie about the black guy, the guy out of slavery, and he's running in the woods taking white women out. I don't know. It was something of man. No. This is in the 1920s.
Okay.
Late 1800s.
You talking about the silent film?
It was a silent film.
It was the first silent film that
was that.
Birth of a
It was Birth of a Nation. That was the movie.
Yeah.
And it was this this black guy that was all sweaty and dirty, and he saw that white woman over there. I said, okay.
You always do that.
I these are fingers. These are fingers. Okay, I'll do that.
There you go.
I don't know how to control my hands.
We told you these guys were evil.
Baphomet guys. No, listen, the movie Birth of a Nation really depicted our people as savages, and they were a threat to the white race. They were a threat to the white woman. Watch out for them. We got to do something about them. Put them in jail if you see them out here, because they're a threat to society. And all of a sudden, everybody started jailing black people again.
That King Kong theme.
Yeah.
Take the white woman to the tower.
Exactly. But it was the whole thing. Now we got to sit back here and apprehend these guys. They were a threat to our families and our children. Then all of a sudden, they start rounding up black folks up.
Yeah.
KKK was the saviors. Because I was part of the movie too. The KKK saved the white people from the black people, the threat. And that was when KKK was really thriving. at a height. It was all propaganda.
Once again,
This is how you paint the picture of a villain and make other people the hero. So they're doing this from Greek time. They're saying the Bible was primitive. All the Bible was saying is that this chosen nation got to get their act together so the Most High can come save them and take care of them. How is that primitive? So you gonna tell me that the Iliad wasn't about war? That the Trojan War and the histories of these poems weren't talking about killing and murdering? Achilles taking out Hector wasn't war? So what are you talking about? That's okay. But our wars are wicked. Anyway, so they said, because Jews were often derided, meaning disrespected, for what was described as the crudeness and primitiveness of the Bible. The Bible was primitive. Then it said, allegorical interpretations became current. So what they were saying is, Greek philosophy, we're going to transcend direct information and direct history. And if the writing isn't allegorical, then you know what? We're not going to respect it. You know what allegorical means? Allegorical, in looking at writing, is like how art is supposed to be interpreted. When you go to these damn art galleries and you see a damn pigeon in the sky with one eye drooping down here and one eye drooping up here, you're supposed to interpret it however you want to interpret it. What does the piece speak to you? What does it say to you? And based on what you think about this whack piece of art, where the faces are all broken up like Picasso, you ever see those pictures? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. Half of what is being deemed as brilliant makes no sense. Oh, you just don't understand it. You got to sit back here. Whatever you see is what you see. That's what they're saying about writing. Writing is supposed to be whatever you take from it, you take from it. That's why Josephus is going to say, man, there was so much writing where there was confusion. One person will be against it, one person will be for it. Another person will be in the middle. Then what the hell is it? But that's what college writing is about. That's what college interpretation of these books are about. What's your slant on this? What do you see about this? Oh, I think this book means it's an interpretation of the Renaissance period and what people are going through at that time. People, that's what allegorical writing is about.
it's just a tragedy, man.
Let's sit back here and get deep, think deep with it, and just pull out certain elements that you want to talk about. And let's not deal with concrete facts. Because that's what the Bible, how it was written. It was concrete information. This is what happened. This is what's going to happen if you don't change. The Greek philosophy is just pull what you want to pull out of it and just get something from it, and that's fine. And every different writer is going to pull a different aspect of a manuscript, and that's cool. And everybody can make their money, and nobody has to be tied down to truth. It's about your truth, because that's allegorical writing. It's about you tapping into your truth. You want to get that picture?
But they always do. They always say,
I don't know if it can, yeah.
did he exist?
Yeah.
And they play a little spooky music.
No.
Did he exist? These events really happened?
What they're bringing up.
No one knows. Some scientists say it did. Some scientists say it didn't.
You said,
and they end up arguing. They listen. Every time you watch one of those shows, they say, we don't even know this person existed. They consistently use as a theme when it comes to Hebrew history.
Yeah.
Was King David's kingdom really as vast as they said it was? Or was it a small backyard kingdom that they wrote about?
Or was it really 200,000 people fighting at that time? Or was scholars want to say it's really 50,000?
It's really 2,000 people that were fighting, and they just expand the numbers. Yes, sir.
In like the last few years, I don't know if y'all noticed, but they've been doing that a lot more to work Christ.
Yeah, they're making everything allegorical. Just pick what you want out of it. If you believe it's true, cool. It might not be true. But what is, there's Christ in all of us. Yeah. And the lesson is just to be kind to your fellow man. That was the allegorical meaning. What was the meaning really about? It was about having kindness to your fellow man, your neighbor, and loving your neighbor as yourself. It really wasn't about the man. It wasn't about Christ actually coming down. It was about what's the lesson from it. That's allegorical thinking. That's Greek thinking. That's what you have to learn in school. You have to learn how to think allegorical to be respected in the university systems, in writing, in philosophy. That's philosophy.
It's all interpretation.
But everybody's interpretation is different and it's accepted.
But they're minimizing the reality of what things are.
And that's the history, the prophecy. If you make it allegorical, then all of a sudden, we don't got to deal with the fact that Christ coming back to save the Jew. We don't got to deal with that because that's about to happen. Let's get philosophical and just pull interpretations from it. So we don't got to deal with the accountability that comes from the book. If you don't stop eating this pork, there's going to be consequences. You don't follow these laws, there's consequences. They're not dealing in that realm. So let's just pull what we want to pull from it.
Does
that make sense?
Let's say the second coming of Christ is really the second coming of Christ's consciousness on earth. And it's the mindset of Christ. But no real Christ coming down. But just be the world will come back to a Christ. The world will be one and have a Christ mind. They're saying that all these writings are just stories and mythology.
Because that's how their writing is.
It is.
Their writing is just fake with no substance. So they want to push everybody's in that same category.
Zeus came down and got with Athena, turned to an eagle.
Yeah.
That's them.
Or they'll say Zeus is Iusis, which is Jesus.
There you go.
Then you get those little wordplay, that wordplay crap.
Yeah.
What was you gonna say, Sean?
No, I was just saying, if y'all check your phone, this picture right here is an example of race science. Check your phones, you will see this picture, which people don't realize. I don't know if LeBron knew what was going on, but this is what the media does when they pushing that. Like the award brought out that movie Birth of a Nation, that silent film, which is actually one of the first films ever made in America. It was made for propaganda purposes to incite hostility amongst Caucasian men, that they got to justify racism and stir them up, and why they have to destroy us, why they have to set us aside, so that it's to protect their lily white women, and it worked. But when you got things like this on the screen, psychologically, I don't know if LeBron knew what he was really being interpreted as when he shot that image for Vogue. But the shooters of the picture, the photographers know what they're doing, because they're the ones that saying, stand like this, put the ball like this, grab the woman like this in your arm, clutch her in your arms, because they know a picture is worth what?
1,000 words.
They know a picture is worth 1,000 words. So their objective is to paint us in a prehistoric, baboonish, apish nature.
Exactly.
That's their objective, is to paint us in that light, because it justifies why we're in prison, why we're in jail. It supposes that we deserve longer prison sentences.
Keep them off the streets.
Keep them off the streets. Keep them out of your neighborhoods. Keep them out of your jobs.
They want your daughters.
They want your daughters. But that's what the Birth of a Nation movie was about.
Yeah.
Now it was an idea painted to portray us in a negative light. And if you don't control imagery, if you don't control the narrative, and you don't have no power over what's being spread over the airways and what's being pushed in education, then this is how you're going to be painted throughout history and modern day ideology. People are going to see you in this light, and there's nothing you can do about it, because we don't control the global media platforms.
What's stupid is he didn't have to take that picture. He knew that was.
I don't know if he knew if he was being painted as King Kong.
Brother.
This is crazy.
But when you look at the picture next to LeBron, it says,
got him.
Destroy this mad brute.
This mad brute.
Enlist in the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
So who's the enemy then? The ape, the baboon, the gorilla, the monkey. But who's the monkey man? It's us. So now this is to stir up national pride. It's supposed to evoke national pride amongst the white man.
It must have worked. If this picture we look at now is like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But this, when it was current, must have been powerful. A powerful image.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they know what they're doing.
Kinda.
But they're like you said, their objective is to disqualify us in culture.
Kinda. But they've been doing it since the Greek times. That's how evils were multiplied on the earth. They were trying to destroy our reputation and who we are and our value as a nation.
Yep.
Bro, you got more?
That's it.
So let's go back in this reading.
Crazy.
This is how it's been, huh? Because Jews were often derided for what was described as the crudeness and primitiveness of the Bible. Allegorical interpretations became current based on the assumption that the Bible intended something other than what was expressed. When you sit back and push an allegorical concept, you cut the legs of the Bible off. You cut the power of the Bible off from the root of it. If it doesn't mean what it says, then what the hell am I reading? It's just confusion. It's lies. That's what I'm also saying. He's the father of lies.
Yep.
How do you concoct something that fiendish? This is a nation's foundation. And we're going to read it, but we're going to discredit it at the same time. Well, we're going to read, because we're going to read about Ptolemy Philadelphus. He ordered the taking of over 10,000 different books. Had people read them, he read them, and then once they found out something that had real potency, then they discredited it. The things they want to credit, they'll credit it. But the ones in the catbird seat had to make these decisions. So anyway,
Yep.
it said the Bible intended, it says, allegorical interpretations became current based on the assumption that the Bible intended something other than what was expressed. Thus, the anthropomorphic expressions, the accounts of miracles, and other literal expressions were given a philosophical meaning. All the prophecies, all the information that will tell you what's going to happen to the Jews and the rest of the world at the end, that's just allegorical. We're not going to sit back here and respect that as real,
truth,
because it doesn't include who? It doesn't include them.
They're not getting glory.
Because they're not going to be the one that wins at the end. So why am I going to sit back and co-sign this? The universal values of the Bible were stressed in order to make Jewish teachings more compatible with Greek thoughts. So what they would just sit back here and take the universal concept about brotherhood, not defrauding people, and they'll say, well, that's a Greek thing. That's not just a Hebrew thing, that's a Greek thing.
Because our writers wrote about brotherhood.
Yeah.
Our writers wrote about camaraderie.
Yep.
That's a Greek. That's just a Hebrew thing. That's us. That's Hammurabi's code. That's why they always push Hammurabi's code over the Bible. They say that was the template that the Jews got the laws from.
Laws of morality.
Morality. That's the point. Everything is about discounting the scriptures.
And history calls those writings of morality, when you read that in history, they're called maxims.
Yep.
So when you see the word maxims, those are basically like our Proverbs, our book of Proverbs, our book of wisdom. The Egyptians have maxims. The Babylonians have
Who call them
maxims.
maxims?
Yeah.
The Greeks didn't call them maxims. The Egyptians didn't call them maxims.
No, they didn't.
That's a Greek word. Or a damn Roman word.
Yeah. But those maxims are our Proverbs. Those are the wisdom of our nation. And so they say that every culture had maxims. Every culture had proverbs, which they did. But the ones that came from the Bible were written from the Most High, given to us. They weren't written, because even as the Greeks are saying and disqualifying our culture in the 300s, when you look at the writings of Confucius in China, that was in the 500s BC, before, when Persia was still in power. When Persia was just overthrowing Babylon and becoming a world power, and the Greeks weren't even on the scene as a world leader, China had already had Confucius writing maxims. But they won't say that we were the originators, because that makes them inferior. What we're reading about is ancient white supremacy. That's what we're reading about.
Yeah.
It's ancient white supremacy.
And that was an aspect of how the evils were spread around the world. So, some carried this allegorical approach to the extreme and disregarded the literal sense of the Bible completely. So this is how things are going wrong, even in the Hebrew culture. This is why you had a large faction of Hebrews that didn't even believe in the Bible anymore. Because they were sold into the Greek way. Because they started believing the crap that these Edomites were saying. you don't need to take the Bible literal. It's allegorical. And you had a lot of Israelites that were thinking this way before what? Antiochus came and whipped on them and said, if you read the Bible, you're going to die. This stuff got real. But there is a reason Alexander came with that. Because you had a lot of Jews at that time that were sitting back here acting like they was white folks. Acting like the Bible is don't take it literal. There was a large group of Israelites that was on that tip. Before the Most High said, okay, you don't want to believe me? Then I'm going to give you all what the Greeks are about. And that was what the abomination of desolation was all about. Antioch speaking was about this. We asked for that. We were thinking, oh, the Bible isn't real, it's allegorical. I'm going to read it again. Some carried this allegorical approach to the extreme and disregard the literal sense of the Bible completely. While there were occasional mixed marriages and converts to paganism amongst the Jews of Alexandria, the overwhelming majority, though assimilated outwardly, retained a sense of loyalty to their ancestral faith. So a lot of them kept their beliefs, but a lot of them switched up. It was split in half.
You want to read that in Maccabees?
We're going to be going at that later on in class about how we were switching up and buying into the Greek culture.
Mm-hmm.
We're good with that. It says, in the course of time, many pagans were attracted to Judaism, or being the Hebrew belief of the Hebrews. By the period of the Romans, it was estimated 1 person out of 10 in the empire was a Jew. Did y'all know that? 1 out of 10 people in the Roman Empire was a Jew. So who do you think, when Paul was teaching all in Rome, and all in Corinth, and all in Galatia, and Cappadocia, who was he teaching? It was nothing but Jews. And that's just another tidbit to bring out. Philo was the foremost representative of Hellenistic Judaism, whose writings have been preserved. Philo sat back here, and he would sit back here and teach the Bible or try to express the scriptures from that philosophical approach, to sit back here and appease these Greeks. And and you could tell a lot of our people were teaching the way they were teaching to prove that their belief system actually mattered.
Yeah.
Because they were under heavy pressure to sit back and legitimize their findings. And if you didn't legitimize your findings, you were looked upon as an idiot. You were shamed. You were disrespected. This is why when we sit back here and drop information, it's the same thing with Esau.
That's why
if you're going to teach the Bible and teach history to Esau, if you don't have other Edomite writers saying it, they automatically say what?
It's not scholarship.
This is not scholarly information. They'll look at the book you got. Where'd you get that book from?
Who wrote that?
That black guy wrote that book. Let me see that book. That's not a real book. That's a pamphlet.
Yeah.
Why are you gonna use a pamphlet and use a pamphlet to justify your findings? Are you serious? It's the truth. This is how Esau is. When you want to really go with them, you better have books like this. You better have hardback books, and it can't be like Mustafa Muhammad is the author. Ain't nobody listen to that.
In the book of Elijah Muhammad says.
You think people listen to those books? Exactly. Nah, get out of here with that. Am I lying or am I telling the truth? If you're sitting back here going at Esau, you better have some information. And it better be scholarly, because you're going to get clowned, you're going to get embarrassed, you're going to look like a damn idiot. Like, if you say so, buddy.
He's saying this. He's thinking.
They don't have to clown like Jake clown, y'all. They don't just clown to make you feel like you're a low-level nobody, y'all. That's how Esau clowns you, y'all. Like, what are these guys saying online? I'm out of here. This is horrible.
Yeah. Or they'll say that book you got's already been debunked.
Yeah.
They love to say that book is already debunked.
Yeah.
And it was debunked by this writer.
Yeah.
So what you're bringing out is irrelevant already.
That's what they all do. But the purpose of having all this information in the world is one guy says it's true, another person says no. Another person says it's true, another person says no. So everything gets neutralized. That is the writing that was purposefully done that way. So it's hard to find truth because truth doesn't matter. It's how you look at things matters.
I want to read this real quick.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. This out of Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It says, to reason, to question, to speculate was a habit with the Greeks. I'm going to just leave it like that.
Mm-hmm.
It says, to reason, to speculate, or to question was a habit with the Greeks.
Unless it's talking about puffing them up.
Yep.
Then they all agree. If it's about building them up, yes. 10 out of 10 writers say yes. When it comes to validity of dark-skinned people, I don't know about this. I'm not sure if those findings are valid.
Those records.
And that's the truth. That's literally how history has been painted since the Greek civilization came into power around 331 BC. So let's continue. Then it said, Philo was the foremost representative of Hellenistic Judaism, whose writings have been preserved. Writing for Jews as well as for non-Jews, he was a philosopher, theologian, allegorical interpreter, and commenter on the Bible. Though less known than most of the other figures in the book, Philo is particularly relevant because of his attempt to synthesize Judaism and the culture of his day. Judaism in Alexandria was not destined to survive, but Philo's work was not lost. 8 centuries later, the Jews in the Arab-speaking world were again to undertake the task of reconciling Judaism with Greek thought. It's always about trying to validate ourselves amongst a bunch of white folks. Yep. This is the battle that Philo had. This is the battle Josephus has. And this is the battle that we're had the undertaking of. We got to hit Jake. But Jake is like, if the white man don't validate it, then I'm not really buying it.
White man wrote the Bible.
Exactly. It's a constant fight to prove that our history is black history and it is respectable. It is to be respected. That's the hardest thing to convince a black dude to understand is what we're saying is respected. Because if it doesn't come from a white person, it ain't respected. We can sit back here all day long and say the Jew was black. But the only time you get black folks to listen is if you say the Roman writer Tacitus said the Hebrews look like Ethiopians. Oh man, that's high information you just gave me. The white man said that the Jew man, it looks like the Ethiopian. That makes sense now. Now I need to read more about the scriptures. You see how we've been indoctrinated? If the white man doesn't say it's okay, then we're going to question it. You think that was a mistake? That was intentional.
That came from something.
That was established that way. To question black intelligence and black common sense and black intelligence in the Bible, we got to attack that.
Yep.
If it doesn't come from a white scientist with glasses and a beard like Abraham Lincoln, don't believe this guy. PhD or a scientist. Then don't believe him.
That's a slave mentality.
Well, it's beyond slave mentality. It's just indoctrination at the highest levels that's been going on from the beginning. Anyway, let's continue. In the Josephus,
it's always about sources. The Bible is not a good enough source.
I know.
It's always, where's your sources? Where did you get it from?
Besides the Bible.
Exactly. And what they like to say is the sources need to go further. Remember he says that the information of the Jew is new. Or it's later on in history. So they can discredit the Bible and the history by saying, this is new, Egypt was earlier.
Right. Okay.
There's even more people say that. Egypt was earlier, Sumer was earlier, Ur was earlier, Babylonian, not Neo-Babylon, but the pre-Babylon, that was earlier. The time of Nimrod, that was before the Bible. That's what historians say now. But they're saying what the Greeks were saying. We think we're pushing pro-Egypt, we're pushing pro-Greek philosophies. Bro, So, Thawam, let's get you saluted in.
Tahawam Racha, Shar Shabbatah, Bana Shar, Banya Sha'ala.
Thawam Racha, Shar Shabbatah, Ba'al Shar, Ba'al Shar. Amaju. What? Yahweh Hashem Yahshua
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua B'Tam.
Alright. Okay. Now we're back in the Josephus against Apion. We're going to go as the witnesses whom I shall produce. As for the witnesses whom I shall produce.
That's line 4. Page 773.
Got it. This is against Josephus against Apion, book 1, paragraph 1, line 4.
Yep.
As for the witnesses whom I shall produce for the proof of what I say, they shall be such as are esteemed to be of the greatest reputation for truth.
Hold on one second. I think I jumped a point that I need to go back to. My apologies. Okay. Read real quick. This was spoken of in that orange book. But let's read, it's the same book, book 1, paragraph 11 real quick. We're going to go back to this. Let's jump to paragraph 11.
Book 1, paragraph what? 11.
Book 1, paragraph 11.
That's 957.
Yeah. Now, it's book 1, paragraph 11. It's at the part where it says, I am now willing in the next place to say a few things to those who endeavor to prove that our Constitution is but of late time.
Okay. Start there.
Yes.
I am now willing in the next place to say a few things to those who endeavor to prove that our Constitution is but of late time.
Because this is what the Greeks were trying to establish. That our history isn't as old as Egypt. Our history isn't as old as Canaanite religion, or their history, or the Tyrian Zidonian religion. Our history isn't as old as the Chaldean religion. Because this is when you sit back and look at history books, they literally start with Babylon. Then they jump to Tyrian Zidon, Canaanite origin, and then they go to Egypt. And we're not even talked about during those beginning times. And this was done, and it was done successfully, even though guys like Josephus were fighting not to let it happen. Read on.
For this reason, as they pretend that the Greek writers have said nothing about it.
And then they sit back here and act like the Greek writers don't know about us, don't know about our history. The Greek writers know about it because when we read in the class next week, hell, Alexander knew about us. Ptolemy Soter knew about us. Ptolemy Philadelphus knew about us. The beginning of the leaders of the Greeks knew about us from the beginning. They just chose to omit us. Continue.
After which I shall produce testimonies for our antiquity out of the writings of foreigners.
And he says, because he has to sit back here and bring out foreign documents to prove that we were relevant. Just like us. We got to go on to the history of the Egyptians and read about what they said about us to prove we're valid. We go into all these histories to prove that in their writing we were talked about. We got to read about a guy named Tacitus to sit back here and understand that the people of Rome encountered black people in Britain. Did y'all know that? Cassidy said we sat back here and encountered a bunch of black dudes in South Britain. He said Northern Britain was white. South Britain was black. And those South Britain people came from the land of the Gauls that we had to just defeat. Did they tell you that in history? That when Julius Caesar, one of the first wins that catapulted their country was when Julius Caesar took out the Gauls that were in France and Spain. Oh, and oh, by the way, their family lineage was connected to people in South Britain who looked swarthy. What does swarthy mean? Dark. And the whole world knows this. This is not a lack of understanding. The whole we got to sit back and go to Roman records to prove what the Bible says already? We're reduced to defending ourselves and using foreign concepts to back ourselves up. Just like Josephus got to prove his point that we're valid. That we were around during the ancient times. We got to go back. This is why Josephus took so much time to explain that Abraham taught the Egyptians mathematics and taught them science. To say this, if Abraham taught these people mathematics and science, and you Greeks are praising the Egyptians for their science and mathematics, then who are you really praising?
Abraham.
Our people. Anyway, so let's go back. Let's go back to the, no. We're not going back yet. I'm sorry. We're going to go to Against Apion, Book 2. Against Apion, Book 2, paragraph 32. Against Apion, Book 2, paragraph 32.
Paragraph 32. Nay, indeed, in case it had so fallen out that our nation had not been so thoroughly known among all men as they are, and our voluntary submission to our laws had not been so open and manifest as it is, but that somebody had pretended to have written these laws himself, and had read them to the Greeks.
So what he's saying is this. The entire world knew the laws that we follow. The entire world knew our standards, our belief system. They understood who we were as a people. But there's what Josephus is saying is just in case the world didn't know that the laws and the commandments came from us, if nobody knew about the Jew and their laws, the Greeks would respond a certain way to have been receiving the laws that they're getting. It'll make more sense in a second. Read on.
Or had pretended that he had met with men out of the limits of the known world, that had such reverend notions of the Most High.
So what it's saying is, if nobody knew the Jews' laws and commandments, and the Greeks came about finding the laws and commandments from another nation that's afar off. Read on.
And had continued for a long time in the firm observance of such laws as ours, I cannot but suppose that all men would admire them on a reflection upon the frequent changes they had therein been themselves subject to.
He's saying, listen, man, if the Greeks would have followed the law and nobody knew that came from the Jews, they would have took it, and they would have observed it, and they would have been respected for it. But they couldn't take it. They couldn't take it because they knew everybody in the world knew they would have been fakers. So they had to attack it. They couldn't take it as theirs because the whole world knew only this group of people had these laws. Read on.
And this while those that have attempted to write somewhat of the same kind of politic government and for laws are accused as composing monstrous things, and are said to have undertaken an impossible task upon them. And here I will say nothing of those other philosophers who have undertaken anything of this nature in their writings.
He says, I'm not going to sit back here and call out anybody who was plagiarizing biblical concepts and not giving the Most High credit. He said a lot of guys took the Most High scriptures and laws, plagiarized them, spin them, and then called it theirs. Read on.
But even Plato himself, who is so admired by the Greeks on account of that gravity in his manner and force in his words, and that ability he had to persuade men beyond all other philosophers, is little better than laughed at and exposed to ridicule on that account by those that pretend to sagacity in political affairs.
So what he's saying is, they said he was attacked for using biblical concepts in his philosophy, even back then. And we know different history says Plato looked like me and you. Well, they said Plato used in his arguments in philosophy biblical concepts, and people attacked him for using biblical concepts in his message. Read on.
Although he that shall diligently peruse his writings will find his precepts to be somewhat gentle and pretty near to the customs of the
Generality.
Of mankind.
They were attacking him for taking biblical concepts, but really, he kind of kept it vanilla. He kept it more into like, he's using biblical concepts, but he kept it universal. And he was still being attacked for taking aspects of the Bible into his philosophy. Read on.
Nay, Plato himself confesses that it is not safe to publish the true notion concerning the Most High among the ignorant multitude.
Plato's like, I do read the Bible. I just can't teach it. I can't teach these spiritual concepts to these Greeks because they're going to attack it and tear it down. Anything that sounds like it's talking about the Jew gets attacked, it gets demonized.
Discredited.
And it's the same thing now. Anything coming from the scriptures is discredited and attacked. Because it's against that liberal lifestyle, that liberal thinking. So you got to keep it general and spiritual at the same time, and people don't like that. Yes, sir? You have something to say, something?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Continue.
Yet do some men look upon Plato's discourses as no better than the certain idle words set off with great
Artifice.
We're
going to let it go. There's more here, but we'll let that go. Let's go back to book 1. Let me make sure I'm at the right spot. Well, listen, before we go back to the book 1, because we are going back to book 1, let's go to Lamentations 4 and 2.
Yeah, they mix our words together. So it's a quote. It says, "Anger may glance into the breast of a wise man, but it rests only in the bosom of fools."
You see, that's the point.
They remix the Hebrew thinking.
They plagiarize it.
Seneca said something similar.
Brother.
Seneca said, "These are wise men, right?
That read the Bible and know the scriptures out."
Yeah.
But you got more?
He said Seneca said, when you're amongst men, act as if God is watching you. But when you speak to God, act like men are listening. The scripture tells you when you're amongst men, the Most High is watching. Be conscious. But Esau interprets the Bible and they remix the Bible and they say it's them. It's their idea.
It's their philosophy.
They blend scriptural concepts with their paganistic themes and they mix it together
to look wise.
Well, if you
and to discredit our people.
Modern psychology, a lot of their principles come from the scriptures.
Come from Solomon.
A lot of psychology books today are filled with proverbs and psalms. Filled with them. And they'll even tell you that's where they got them from. They'll rewrite it and then tell you, they'll break it down and tell you the good that comes out of these particular proverbs from thinking this way, from thinking positive, or thinking whatever way that they're reading about.
Don't really give the credit to what really.
Well, they'll put the verse where they got it from, but they don't say that the majority of our book came from the Bible. It's just an alternative form of teaching the scriptures in a more palatable way that's easy to swallow for that day and age.
Ghana.
Yeah, we got another one. Pride was not made for men,
Ah.
nor furious anger for anyone that's born of a woman. Zeno said nothing more indecent than pride, and especially of a young man.
But they'll qualify Zeno though.
They're pulling from the scriptures.
And since Zeno's cold, like he's dropping it, man.
Zeno
Zeno's
said some
cold.
wisdom, but they're pulling from the scriptures. But they're saying it's them.
Because Zeno said it.
Yep.
Yeah, Zeno said
That's
that.
that validity that they get from the PhDs.
And that's the point.
Man, that was wide. Where'd you get that from? I just been philosophizing.
Because if you don't have the Bible right in your face, you think it's coming from Zeno. That's why they're not talking about the Bible. Because they're getting all the bars from them, and they're saying it's coming from them.
Yep.
They're plagiarizing. And everybody knows the dirty little secret where they're getting the information from. Nobody's talking about it.
Nope.
He spun the verse and got credit for it.
Yep.
Kind of. And this is an aspect of the Most High diminishing us. Lamentations 4:1-2.
Lamentation chapter 4 and verse 1. How is the gold become dim?
Listen, what made Israel go? The following of the laws and the maintaining of our culture, right?
Yep.
That made us go. So now we've become dim because we've chosen not to follow the Most High, and we've lost our culture.
Right.
We've lost our identity. We've lost our respect in the world. And everything he saw the Greeks were doing, the Most High allowed the Greeks to do it. Because I'm going to sit back here and make you look like a bunch of nobodies in front of the world. This is how he made us dim. He allowed the Greeks to take away our culture, take away our identity. And once our culture and identity is robbed, we're just a bunch of spear chunking Africans that got taken out and put in captivity.
Or the trade-off is to be accepted amongst their society.
Yep.
Like Shaq, because everybody knows Shaq is an Omega. So because the Omega is a Greek fraternity, still following Greek principles, still getting hazed and to become a member of this Greek organization. Or Kamala Harris went to the Kappas to get their votes, which she said she was a Kappa. So for affiliation purposes, they'll still put on the Greek hat and the Greek titles for affiliation.
Because whatever hat do you have? What other hat do you have?
What other
You
strong?
got the dunce cap.
Yeah, you got the dunce cap. Yeah.
You got the dunce cap, or you better put some Kappa hat on, or some damn whatever hat on.
Yep.
You better pick something, or be embarrassed to be a nobody. But this was part of the curse the Most High was bringing us. He allowed Esau to sit back and discredit us and strip our history into nothing. Read it again from verse 1 from the top.
How is the gold become dim?
This is how the gold has become dim. One, we start following the laws of the Most High. At least during the Babylonian times, we became dim because we got put into captivity. We were the slaves.
Yeah.
Now, we were made slaves and our history was forgotten about. That's really dim. We've been brought down to a very low level. No culture, no identity, no language.
No school.
You don't know where you come from. Oh, one of them tribes in Africa. Damn, that's really what it is?
You read about the schools of the prophets and Elisha being the founder or the supplier of the school of the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
Then you read about the school of the Greeks.
Yep.
Or the Pythagoras schools. You know, about the inner circles or the outer circles that denied themselves, the pleasures of Greek culture and lived in the woods and philosophized all day.
John. Brother.
I got another one.
We give me some more Zeno quotes out here.
No. Listen, it says, Romans 5:5 says, and hope maketh not ashamed. Right? These guys say, hope will be your best antidote against all misfortune.
Brother,
And God's omnipotency is an excellent means to fix your soul.
they're never going to sit back here and say it came from black people, for black people. This is how you make who we are of a less degree. Can you imagine if black children are taught in schools that we actually did something that actually accomplished something more than MLK or a black man, George Washington Carver,
with the peanuts,
tweaking out ways with the peanut act. That's it. That's all we did. Peanut crazy act, peanut crazy, and light bulbs. I mean, not light bulbs, but no lights, not traffic lights.
Morgan.
Yeah, Garrett Morgan. That's it. Act. We did nothing before. Yes, we did. We did way more. Can you imagine how much that would have spawned our curiosity to go in the book and learn more in the scriptures? If it was man, Solomon was a black person. So was David. So was Moses. These are your people. Christ was black. This is your history. And taught that from a young age, the type of self-esteem we'd have. We have nothing to associate ourselves with that looks like greatness except for athletes on the court.
And that's why
Uncle Tom dudes in monkey suits.
And that's why a lot of mounds that are scattered throughout all America are covered up. They become federally protected lands, and you can't do no digging. But these are ancient burial sites, monuments, plateaus, cities, aqueducts, waterways. But you don't read about this. When Europe was still eating out of trash cans, the world was civilized already.
Ghana.
But they want to portray themselves as the smartest civilized culture. When they were scratching themselves with fleas, the rest of the world were building monuments, long-standing monuments.
And then as soon as those people that were scratching fleas off their body came into power, they said, we're going to forget all this other history about what y'all did. And we ain't going to talk about what we did. We ain't going to talk about where we came from. Yeah. We're going to talk about where we were at our height moving forward.
Yeah, we're going to start the books.
History starts now.
It starts now with the Greeks.
It starts now. That's all they do. This is what's happening.
Because they're saying that they brought civilization to the world.
I know. And culture.
Yeah.
That's why the Bible was what he said, barbarian. He said barbarians. He said it was crude.
Base.
He said it was crude. And primitive. Yeah. That's crazy. How dare these people say that? Anyway. Let's continue with Lamentations.
Lamentations chapter 4.
But they have to lie to survive.
Yeah.
They got to lie.
And we're going to explain that down the line. Why they have to lie like this. Well, let's continue.
Lamentations chapter 4 verse 1. How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? Because
we broke the laws, and then the Most High allowed a guy to really change policy and really destroy us from the inside out. Read on.
The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. Mm-hmm. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold.
At one time, we were compared to fine gold because of the laws we follow, the culture we maintain, the respect that we have because of the culture we maintain. Read on.
How are they esteemed as earthen pitchers?
We're earthen pitchers because we don't have no law, we don't have no identity, we don't have no culture. We're nothing. We're nobodies.
I got another one for you, War.
Come on, man.
If some are refined like gold in the furnace of affliction, there are many more like chaff that are consumed in it. Sorrow, when it is excessive, takes away fervor from piety, vigor from action, health from the body, light from reason, repose from the conscience, unless supported by the grace of God.
Bro, you see what they're doing? Everything is a bite. We're going to take the scriptures, spin it, make it philosophical, put it in writing, and let everybody drink tea and coffee to it and talk about how deep it was. And then say, this is Roman philosophy. This is Greek philosophy. Catch on, man. You dig it, man? This is what it's about, man. Can you write like this? No, you can't. This is another level right here, man.
It is another level.
But it's another level based on lies and plagiarism. They're a bunch of plagiarism, man. That's all it is.
Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, you probably look it up. Zeno had a porch that he would sit on and teach from. And he would have all his students on the stairs in front of this big old building. And if you sat on Zeno's porch, then you would get schooled by Zeno and listen to his philosophy.
Man.
And what he did, but he had the Bible in his trunk. He had the Bible in his bedroom. I locked down and like a key out.
Yeah.
Nobody can get this.
Don't go in that bag.
Let me read Proverbs. Let me read Proverbs like 3 today. We gonna go Proverbs 3 my way.
Yeah.
Come on, this is what's happening, alright?
I'm a very important man.
Golly, bro, it's crazy, alright. So let's go back. No, we got more. Go to Jeremiah 23 and verse 40. It's messed up, alright. So nobody can say we don't talk about Esau because we do.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 23 and 40.
In measure, though.
In measure.
You're not the star of the show. You don't get to be a star.
Jeremiah 23 and 40. Read that.
Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 40. And I will bring an everlasting reproach upon you, and a perpetual shame.
What do you think what we're experiencing in America is? What shame?
Yeah, that's true.
This is a perpetual shame. Embarrassment. The black man is, we have no history. We have nothing we can hold on to say is ours. Yeah, that is a perpetual shame and reproach. And what Josephus is trying to do is to stop that notion that we're going to just be the downtrodden of this world. He was fighting his tail off to make sure we weren't labeled these lowlives.
They're not respected.
And not respected. But he didn't understand that was with the Lord. The will of the Lord was for us to be these low lives and to be propagandized as these low lives that have no intellect and spirit. You gotta understand, even the Greek way. We'll go into that later about their language and how it's overly wordy. And the Hebrew language is right to the point. This cat did this. Most High was mad at him. And he got punished. That's Hebrew, right? It ain't all filibustery. The Greek language is really filibustery. You use all these words, it comes off deeper and more intelligent.
It's filled with loopholes.
Yeah.
Like English is a bastard tongue. They say certain things, but it means this or it could mean that.
Who knows?
Which one is it? That's how they get lawsuits out.
Yeah.
That's like, listen, man. You're saying this happened, but I said I didn't have relations with that one.
With that woman?
Which one was it?
I didn't inhale.
I didn't inhale. Okay, so you put it in your mouth and you...
I didn't inhale, though.
But you didn't inhale. They play word games or semantics. Greeks are great with semantics.
Yeah.
This is what their whole society is based on.
Mm-hmm.
The play of words, especially when you go to court.
Got it. So let's finish at verse 40.
Which shall not be forgotten.
So he says that perpetual shame won't be forgotten. The only person going to help eliminate that shame, we went into it on Monday.
Great.
Christ's going to sit back here and put us back in power, then the whole world will respect us again. Mm-hmm. But until then, we're going to be the butt of the joke. Yep. Who wants to be the black guy? Unless you're rapping and dancing or hooping,
The monkey man.
Or doing athlete stuff. Nobody wants. You don't want to be a black guy if you can't hoop. It ain't cool to be black guy.
Shut up and dribble.
It ain't cool to be black if you're not hooping and dunking and playing ball and rapping and doing jigs for people.
And now it's even worse. Because now it's like you're not accepted unless you're highly emasculated. Then we can accept your works. Now just being a heterosexual male is looked frowned upon in the court of
public opinion.
The public opinion. You're not someone to respect.
All these things are
you're primitive.
So now we understand how we've been brought down so low. Mm-hmm. Without the laws, he said, if you don't respect my laws, I'm gonna take your entire culture from you. You don't love serving me. You don't love the law. You don't love me. I'm gonna take your whole culture from you.
He meant that.
That's what he did.
He created a special.
This is the reproach
to do this.
He made it. Listen, he made a people that was gonna take the name of the Jew of God, showing people off the map, and make us a nobody nation.
The Africans wouldn't do it. The Arabs wouldn't do it.
They still got their culture.
Look, they're like, listen, that's your culture. This is my culture. Every other nation, that's your culture. This is my culture. It's only this culture said your culture doesn't matter.
I'm breaking y'all. I'm breaking.
And I'm the best you ever. I'm the best of you. I'm all your heroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you never did anything.
And this how the Most High broke us and brought us down low. Because we didn't value. It was a burden to be a Jew for us anyway. So if it was a burden to be a Jew, I'm gonna take that moniker from you in the first place. You're gonna take the burden, the responsibility, everything. You won't be a no people. You're gonna be the no people. I'm gonna replace you with the no people, and then you're gonna be the no people. Let's continue. Let's let that. Did we finish 29 and 18? Let's go to Jeremiah 29 and 18.
Got another one.
Nah, I'm done. Don't listen to the bogus
You guys are
one fish,
fire,
two fish,
guys.
red fish,
Yeah.
blue fish shot. That's all it is, right? It's whack, though. Yeah, it's whack. What's the one, though? Yeah, give it to me.
It's
Shit is lame stuff,
it's
man.
lame. It's not that dumb.
Don't worry about it. Let's go. Jeremiah 29 and
Let's
18.
just know that they're still stealing.
Yes. Let's keep going. 29 and 18.
Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 18. And I will persecute them with the sword, with the famine, and with the pestilence, and will deliver them to be removed to all the kingdoms of the earth, to be a curse and an astonishment and a hissing.
It's a, you know what the hissing is like? Was that the Jew? He said, I don't know. Maybe, who are these guys?
There is shame when you walk in the room.
That's the point. We're a hissing and a what?
And a reproach.
We're a reproach, huh? We're a reproach because we don't even have an identity anymore. The value and the respect of our identity has diminished to the lowest level it could be. When they look at a black woman, who do they look at? Sexy Red?
That's a hissing.
That's a hissing act. Cardi B? This is the black woman?
It's the Hebrew one.
This is horrible.
A minstrel.
Yeah.
What's that?
A minstrel.
Come on, this is what the image of our people are. Rappers and low-level singers.
Is you is or is you way, my baby.
Is another form of it. That was Tom and Jay. That was an embarrassing
Is
song.
you is or is you not, my baby. Every dog needs a lady. It's the same spirit.
thing. Yeah, it is. Okay. That was a messed up cartoon. I don't know if you remember that one. I'll never forget the Is you, my baby.
Yeah.
It was that was Tom singing that.
Yeah,
But all the means are people.
Do bop do bop do do da. Oh, this is horrible. This is embarrassing. Anyway, we're gonna continue with this point, being that hissing and reproach. We are definitely the hissing and reproach. Back in the 1800s, the 1900s, and present day. We're the laughing stock of the world. But that was our rebellion. But this is how it was systematically set up. This is how the Most High how it was executed. And it started with the Greeks.
But that's crazy because we act, and this is good to know because we act as if it was a new thing. This is like some 30s, or maybe.
The white man, the propaganda, and Edward Bernays in the 20s. Now,
It was the CIA. It was the CIA, brother. The FBI, brother. This mechanisms have keep the black man have indoctrinated the black race and got us on the bottom of the ghettos and slums, brother. Like no, it was thousands of years before that, bro.
Yes, it was literally 2,000 years ago that this was starting and perpetuating.
Yeah.
And it just got perfected later on. Over since it kept getting readjusted, retweaked to fit the present day society.
But we gotta know this.
We were made the big boogeyman and a low level guy starting in the 300s and being perfected to the 2000s. So let's go back to the Josephus, man. No. There's some more. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. We might be on this next week, man. I don't think we're going to get through this in time. And I don't want to rush it. 1 Corinthians 1, verse 17 through 23.
1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 17.
Let's get there real quick. 1 Corinthians 1 and 17.
1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 17. For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect.
Now, first of all, where is Paul writing this at?
Corinth.
Where is Corinth? Corinth is in Greece. He's writing in Greece. He's like, man, I'm not sitting back. My job is to teach the word. And I'm not going to be focused on how wordy my words are, how intelligent I come off, how fancy I'm talking, because that's what mattered where in that Greek city. How you talked, how eloquent you were, those are the things that was respected. He said, I'm not going to sit back here and play these fancy dancy words with you. My job is to prophesy and teach His word and preach Christ. Read on.
Lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect.
Mm-hmm.
For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness.
Well, it is. So who was he talking about? The preaching of the cross is foolishness to the people that don't believe. The Greek culture didn't respect the preaching of the what? The preaching of the cross. The preaching of the cross was poo-pooed on by the so-called white men back in these Greek times. The Bible wasn't respected. The Old Testament wasn't respected. You think the teaching of Christ was going to be respected? Because don't forget, listen, the Old Testament wasn't respected, the New Testament wasn't respected. The Septuagint wasn't respected. Christ's words wasn't respected. It was foolishness to the nations. It was foolishness to the so-called white man and a lot of the black people that were following suit of how the Greeks were rolling.
And it wasn't foolish because they were so superior. Because listen, they're talking about Athena, Saturn, Mercury has spoken for us.
Yep.
They're obsessed with the stars and the planets.
And freedom. It was the freedom that people were into. The Greek way was freedom.
Yeah.
So if I'm about freedom, Christ, the preaching of the cross, what is the preaching of the cross? It's bearing burdens.
Yep.
Sacrifice.
It's sacrifice. That was foolishness to Greeks.
Yeah.
I gotta sacrifice my life for my brother. Forget that.
No, sir.
I'm doing me. And that was the society of the Greek country. That was the society of America. Living your life for your people is foolishness.
The pursuit of happiness.
And this is what the Greeks were living, and this is what our people were patterning themselves out in the land of the Greeks. You got to get yours. Get yours, live your money, your YOLO. You think YOLO was just now? YOLO was then too. The preaching of the cross is foolishness to the people in this arena, in this city, in this territory.
Right.
And this is what the Greeks were pushing. It was anti these scriptures because they were against what the Bible, the fabric of what the Bible was about anyway. But let's continue.
But unto us which are saved, it is the power of the Most High.
Our sacrifice and what we abstain from is our power. What we commit to, our disciplines, is our innocency. Our innocency is our power. Your choice of freedom is your death. It's their freedom, it's foolishness in the world to live a life of sacrifice. But living a life of sacrifice is what makes us powerful. That's our people's strength. Their kryptonite. Read on.
For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent.
And this is what he's talking about. The Most High is going to destroy the wisdom of who is perceived to be wise. He is going to destroy the perception of what makes sense. The allegorical thinking. He's going to destroy that thinking. He's going to destroy the posturing and the mindset of people who think fueling your flesh and your lust is wisdom. He's everybody, Esau included, our people included, that can't see the power of sacrifice and dedication. He's going to sit back and prove you wrong. What he's saying is Christ's way eventually will surpass everybody else's way of looking at life, everybody else's viewpoint of looking at life. Read on.
Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world?
He's talking about Esau. Esau is the disputer of this world. He's going to dispute everything. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I'm not following that. That way of thinking, Christ is attacking, and Paul is attacking in this message. The Greek way. The Greek way of thinking that tries to attack spirituality, sacrifice, dedication, humility, honor in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. Read on. Disputing the truth. Read on.
Had not the Most High made foolish the wisdom of this world?
And that's the point. When you sit back here and really commit yourself to the Most High, you realize how foolish the Greek and Roman way is, the American way is, and how far left it is in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. Read on.
For after that, in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High.
The world didn't know wisdom. The Greek philosophy didn't know wisdom. It was contrary to the wisdom of the Heavenly Father. There is a world's wisdom. There is a Hellenistic wisdom. There is an American wisdom. And then there is the wisdom of the Heavenly Father. Read on.
It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe.
He said it pleased the Most High to teach people who didn't believe that the truth was real. He said it pleased him. Say it again. He said it pleased the Most High.
It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching.
What does that mean? It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching. What does that mean?
That you're preaching, but you don't know if people are actually going to receive it.
They're not listening. They're mocking you. They're attacking you. He says, it pleases the Most High when you're out here teaching your people and they don't agree. You're getting ridiculed. You're getting attacked. You're being reproached. You're being made to feel low and stupid. And you're being challenged like, who are these guys in these cosplay outfits? Sitting back here attacking our dress code, our culture, our belief system. He says, that foolishness of preaching is what the Most High values. To go out here, stand up for what's right, fight for your culture, and not back down to people who don't respect you, who don't respect what you stand for. He says the foolishness of preaching, he says the Most High is pleased by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. Because there's going to be some people out here that respect and appreciate what you're doing, and for that, he appreciates the ridicule and the reproach you go through for trying to stand up for something that the world doesn't accept. You know, the Greek world didn't accept how we roll. The American world didn't respect how we roll. The Roman world didn't respect how we roll. This is how it's been. Continue.
For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom.
It got to make sense to the Greek. It got to make sense from their allegorical wisdom. Not spiritual wisdom. There's a scripture in the Apocrypha that talks about all wisdom isn't holy wisdom.
Yeah. Always not.
Yeah. Can you find me that verse? Because just because it says wisdom and it ties in wisdom with the Greeks doesn't mean the Greeks want to be wise in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. He says the Jews got to see something fall out the sky for them to believe, and the Greeks, it gotta fit in with their slanted way of looking at things. If the Bible doesn't fit in from an allegorical perspective, then they're not going to follow. That's what it means by the Greeks seek after wisdom.
You talking about this one?
Not that one.
Okay.
There's another one about wisdom. It says the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the one of what it is.
I got something too I want to bring out in Acts chapter 17. If you could read Acts chapter 17, verse 16. When you're talking about that foolishness of preaching, this is what it feels like. Ecclesiastes 19:22 is the verse you want.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Go on.
You got yours, Sean? You want to go yours first?
Yeah.
Go for yours first. Go yours first.
What's what you looking for, bro?
You got it?
Yeah, Acts,
17, verse 16.
Acts chapter 17 and verse 16.
Read that.
Now while Paul waited for them at Athens,
So where's Athens at?
Greece.
It's in Greece. So while Paul was waiting in Athens on the holdover, go ahead.
His spirit was stirred in him
He said, why was the spirit stirred in him? Read.
when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry.
He says, because the whole city of Athens was given to what?
Idolatry.
Idolatry.
Do as thou wilt.
Yep.
Whatever you want to do, you can justify a reason to do it.
Yep.
With your fancy allegorical tongue.
The idea of smell every flower.
Yes.
Seize the day.
Con.
Don't let no good thing pass you by. Indulge.
What's your
Carpe diem.
interpretation of a good day?
Yeah.
A good thing.
Yeah.
It's up to your discretion.
It's up to you.
I
Whatever is good for you.
I
up to
tried
you.
anything once, Twice if I like it.
Yeah.
What's that saying?
Indulge.
How use it twice if I like it?
That's a real term. It's a real saying. Smoking flower, what you saying? That's they say it.
I don't know.
You try anything once.
Yeah.
And they say twice if I like it, they smile.
They,
What does that
they
mean?
want you to indulge. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
Read.
Therefore disputed he
And
in
what
the
it-
synagogue.
And what did Paul started doing?
Disputing
Where?
in the synagogue
Go ahead.
with the Jews
Go ahead.
and with the devout persons, and in the market daily.
And he started teaching and started disputing and started teaching and preaching and going at these people that are okay with the theme of idolatry being okay. So it stirred him up. He couldn't sit still and watch this whole city be full of idols and not say nothing. Read on.
And in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers,
Okay, then comes the who. And this is who the Greeks respect.
This great stuff.
Yeah.
These are the ones that the Greeks, this is the idea that the Greek have, that if it's not coming from the philosophers,
It don't mean nothing.
it's not wisdom.
Yep.
If they didn't say it,
Then
then
I'm not co-signing that.
it's not legitimate. So Paul is going to war on a daily basis against these philosophers. Read on.
of the Epicurean,
And who are the philosophers?
of the Epicurean,
Read on.
and of the Stoics,
Read.
encountered him.
Because these are different schools of thought.
It's extreme pleasure and extreme discipline.
Yeah, Stoicism is that discipline. Epicurean is that pleasure.
Yep.
But who was founded by Epicurus, another philosopher of Greek culture. Read on.
And some said, what will this babbler say?
And you know what the foolishness of preaching is? You get looked at as a what?
Babbler.
You get looked at as a babbler. Man, you ain't talking nothing. What school you go to? Look at this
Yep.
guy's dress code.
We weren't educated in our schools.
Yeah. What are those funny strings at the bottom of your garment?
Yeah.
You're not wearing a toga. You're not wearing
Did you go to community college?
Yeah.
You went to community college.
Yeah.
Did you get your AA,
Yeah.
brother?
I do that.
Yeah.
They do it all the time. We're not making this up, right? But this wasn't an American thing. This is a Roman. He's in Rome right now. But we're saying it was in Greece too.
You know who Plato is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who our scholar is? Who our mentor is? Have you studied under Pythagoras?
There you go.
Read on.
Other some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods.
They said, man, to some he was a babbler, and to other people he was like, man, he's putting together some new strange gods that we never heard of. We don't recognize his teaching and what he's talking about. Read on.
Because he preached unto them Yahushua.
Because they didn't understand the tenets or the teachings of
The
Yahushua.
cross of it,
The sacrifice.
dedication, the sacrifice side. Listen, on a knowledge level, Esau can understand knowledge, but not commitment and sacrifice for your people.
Living for somebody else.
No,
Living for somebody else, not yourself, is a struggle.
that's not a real thing for these people. Having Leslie or fleshly discipline and denial, that's crazy.
Not necessary.
No way. Let me just do my flesh and read my books, and I'm good.
Get my job.
Get my money.
Start my career.
Yep.
Because that's what the Greek way does. It sets you on a path of success. Because those that are in your fraternity or sorority will put you in position.
Yep.
Whether it be judges or medical field, the law field, they'll look at, okay, who did you pledge? They'll know by your garments, your colors that you wear, the rings on your finger, the tattoos or the damn branding on your arm. They'll know who you belong to. If you got life member on your license plate, they know who you belong to.
That's facts.
Read on.
Because he preached unto them Yahushua and the resurrection.
Go ahead.
And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, we may know what this new doctrine.
So they had to bring him to one of the main philosophers and say, we want to know what the hell this guy's talking about. Read on.
May we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is.
It's strange.
You see how they said it's new?
Yeah.
But was it really new? This has been going on since 5,000 years ago. Listen, when we read 5,000 years ago, Christ is fulfilling what was written about him 5,000 years ago. So it's not anything new. You see how these white folks want to make everything new if they don't agree with it?
Yep.
If they don't buy it, this is what Josephus is saying.
New and strange.
It's new and it's strange. They automatically discount it. Anyway, we keep going, sir. I'm sorry.
You know?
Verse 20. For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears.
Go ahead.
We would know, therefore, what things mean.
We want to know what?
What these things mean.
Because what did the Greeks care about? It says to question, to reason, and to speculate was a habit with the Greeks. They always wanted to speculate the meaning of things. They don't care about changing what changes it could be to themselves, more so than do I understand and I can comprehend what you're saying.
Yep.
It's the meaning of things. They don't care
What
about
do
the
you
implementation
mean
of
by
it.
this?
Yes. What's the wisdom in it?
And all they care is what is your slant on this view.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. They don't deal with right and wrong.
No. Not in
They're not
morality.
dealing with right and wrong. They're dealing with just what's your perspective.
Now when you're in a
Epicureans and Stoics, this is a different slant of looking at life.
Yeah.
Extreme pleasure, extreme pain. Oh, I can see what you're saying about the extreme pleasure thing. And I can see your tenets of extreme discipline. But I like to play the middle.
I'm a moderate.
I like to play the middle. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Then other person, well, I'm more on the pleasure side. And this is a big talk.
Life is short.
It's coffee house talk
Yep.
about what opinion they have about a vague, obscure topic that nobody wants to commit right or left to.
But they go to college and they say, I went to college, I'm trying to find myself. What does it mean to find yourself?
Dabble into all type of negatives and pick and choose what you like out of all these things you're indulging into.
So this is why Paul's dealing with these people. These people are like, what is he saying?
They have no morals. See, like these Greeks have no morals. These Romans have no morals. They have no values, nothing that they stand on.
But then in their ideal, in their society, they are the higher learning. They're the higher education. Mm-hmm. They represent the highest form of knowledge in their culture.
And Paul, Joseph, they're all fighting against this pride.
Yeah.
And this uniform pride of an entire society and world that just locked into their way and just automatically said white's right.
In the college world, they call this the intelligentsia or the intelligentsia.
Yeah.
It's the supposed learned. Who are the learned? And if you're of the learned people, then you can speak. If you're unlearned, you're not able to speak. You don't have an opinion.
Yep.
But Paul, being that Paul, read Acts chapter, hold this down on. Read Acts chapter 21, verse 37. Because you got to understand Paul. He wasn't just a regular guy.
Nope.
Acts chapter 21 and verse 37. And as Paul was to be led into the council, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee?
Go ahead.
Who said, Canst thou speak Greek?
So why did the captain stop Paul and ask him, can you what?
Speak Greek.
Can you speak Greek? Well, because they didn't think Paul was educated.
Right, that was a learned language.
Yeah, that was the education of the learned, the intelligentsia of the learned. So they said, man, can you speak Greek? They were shocked. Read on.
Art not thou that Egyptian?
They thought he was a what?
Egyptian.
And what color are the Egyptians? Brown. So that's another message. But he was learned. What did he say?
Which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers.
But Paul, we know Paul. Go to Philippians chapter 3, verse 5. But we know the history of Paul. Philippians chapter 3, verse 5 and 6.
Philippians chapter 3 and verse 5. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel.
He said, I'm of the stock of Israel, circumcised the 8th day. Read on.
Of the tribe of Benjamin.
Read on.
A Hebrew of the Hebrews.
So what did Paul understand? He knew where he came from. He knew his language. He knew his tongue.
Yep.
He knew his pedigree.
It's history.
He knew his history. Knew his culture. But he could still speak what?
Greek.
He could still speak Greek. So Paul was educated.
So he was beyond this. Oh, you're just a mere Hebrew. Just a,
But what they don't forget, if you didn't speak Greek, you were looked upon as a barbarian.
Yep.
You were classified as a barbarian. Can you imagine that? You're a barbarian if you don't speak this bastard tongue out? They look at it now. If you don't speak English, you're a barbarian. You're in America. Speak English.
Yeah.
Damn it.
This America, Jack.
It's America. Jack.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing.
Yep.
Another person's culture and language is disrespected, and you got to conform to how we do things. I'm not going into your world and learning your Walla Walla language.
But I just saw recently that the Confederate soldiers that lost went to South America. They went to Brazil, and they still speak English to this day. The descendants of the Confederates that went to South America after the loss still speaking straight
They
English.
ain't changing that. They ain't changing. They're not changing that. We got the money. We got the coin.
But everybody else has to adapt to them.
That starts from Greece and Rome. I'm sorry. I just want to bring that part about the barbarian thing out.
Yeah, no, that's true. But Paul was not a regular person. He wasn't uneducated like they thought he was.
Kinda.
Now go back to where we're at in Acts 17 and finish that in 21.
Acts chapter 17 and verse 21. For all the Athenians,
Which was all the Greeks in Athens, the Athenians, read.
and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else,
All they ever did was sit on the porch and dispute. Go ahead.
but either to tell or to hear some new thing.
It was all about the tickling of the ears about some new information that somebody came up with. It was almost comical about, and that's that allegory. Who created a wise quote or a wise saying? Man, that sounded great.
And let's get
That's
stimulated.
entertainment.
And let's just stimulate off of different viewpoints of this allegorical concept.
Yeah.
Let's argue over whose perspective makes more sense. And now this wise banter over this topic. There's no winner.
No, because it's all foolishness.
And there's nothing getting solved there. We're just going to sit back here and be cocky and proud. And I'm going to say some fancy words and I'm going to stand up with a speech. You're going to sit up and make a speech? Oh, good retort. It's debate club.
Good show.
This is debate club. That's what this is.
We'll agree to disagree.
You ever see those debate club shows? You're just going to argue about a topic and there's no winner, guys. What are we doing? Why are we arguing and why are we debating if there's no winner, if there's no point?
It's all just for stimulation.
That's all that. Thank you. It's for stimulation
And entertainment.
That's what Mars Hill was about.
Is this Caucasian battle rapper? That's really what
If
it
you want to
says.
bring it back to a hip hop
I have
tone,
it put here. This is Caucasian battle rap.
guys,
I'm going to quote Cynic on this one.
yeah,
Did
bro.
you know?
Yeah. This is Caucasian battle rap, kinda. Mars Hill was battle rap for Caucasian. Okay? But keep going, Shubshu.
No, that's it. He said they cared about was what?
And it says, which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing.
It says so. That's all they cared about.
Brother, that's all
But
I
what
want.
Dawiyah said though.
That Caucasian battle rap.
Yeah, there's something that Dawiyah said.
Caucasian battle rap. That's awesome.
Based on what Dawiyah just said right there.
Like lose yourself out.
Salakia. It's Go ahead, I'll find it in just a second, bro. Because it's basically what Dawiyah said is what Josephus said.
Okay, let's go back to 1 Corinthians when we're waiting. 1 Corinthians 1 and verse 19 down. Well, let's go to 21 down. 20, verse 20. Go to verse 20.
1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 20. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not the Most High made foolish the wisdom of this world?
And this is what he's saying. The whole foundation of what truth is, what knowledge is, what's right and what's wrong, everything's been turned upside down by this Hellenistic principle. And these Hellenistic principles are the foundation of Westernized thought today. And these Westernized thought has nothing to do with the Bible. It has nothing to do with the maintaining of a spiritual world. This is why society now is as anti the Bible as possible. That's what Greece was. Well, let's continue.
For after that in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning what?
For after that, in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High. Read on. Let's explain it. Keep going. We'll go into it.
It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe.
We got the second half. Read the top.
I found it out. But I'm not sure if you're going to go there already. Are you going to chapter 2 on Josephus?
Josephus chapter 2?
Yeah. I mean,
You
paragraph
mean
2.
Apion?
Paragraph 2.
Hell yeah.
I'm saying, are you going today?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we got time.
Okay.
It's only 1:11. We got time, man.
All right. Well,
yeah, I'll be going there. I'll be going there.
Let me get that in.
Oh, you gonna go there? Don't go there.
No, I'm just saying, just on this point, because he brought it up.
We got a whole lot of getting going.
Yes, I'm saying. I just want to hit this point because it's on the point that way I mentioned. I got to bring it up because it's true.
But okay, where is it?
It's true.
It's
true. What Dawiya said, Caucasian battle rap, is true.
I know it is.
That's all I'm gonna do. Just go there. We gonna skip instead of coming back to it.
We're reading the whole paragraph of chapter 2.
No. We're gonna get straight to the point. Guess Apion, paragraph 2, line 12.
It's Apion.
It's on page 774. 774.
Come. Book 1, paragraph 2, line 12.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is not any writing which the Greeks agree to be genuine among them, ancienter than Homer's poems.
So they were what? They were poems, huh?
There are poems.
The Greek writing was poems.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is they weren't written down; they were orated. Yep. So they were spoken. They were in spoken word. Yeah. So he's showing you that it was basically
that was their history.
Their history was just elaborated orally, and it wasn't written down
like oral history.
Like oral history, it was all poetry.
They didn't have any writing that went back a far time like they say they did.
No.
And that's we'll go into that down the line. But it was all just they act like their history has so much depth and so far ago. They said Homer's poems didn't even begin to start getting written down into the 700 BCs.
Oh wow!
When the 9.5 tribes got put into captivity, that's when they started writing. In the 700 BCs, and we have a 5,000 year history, and the Greeks want to discount the 5,000 years and act like some BS rap lyrics that was written in the 600 BCs actually means something. And that's and it goes. This is where he starts going into his arguments about how phony baloney the Greek culture is. But there are a bunch of frauds, and they're walking around here now. 97 BC or 97 AD, Roman times, in their little robes, and their frauds, they're on some level.
But they hit everybody else. They go to other people's culture and say,
it's whack. It's not good enough.
Let's say this. Well, these people didn't start writing. They didn't have a written down culture. But they're the ones that are famous.
That's the point.
They're massive. Going into their society. Well, you see their little feathers and their little hats and their customs. But they don't have a written. They haven't started a written language or this is before written history.
Yes.
And they use that angle, which is a true angle.
To discount their validity and their caliber.
It is before written history. What about your before written history?
I know.
They don't push that.
They don't want to look bad. I know.
Wow.
And it is.
You know what's crazy?
His poems is battle rap.
What they're saying is beautiful. I remember reading about Greek history and talking about how the poetry. Do you understand the poetry of the Greeks? How beautiful the poetry of the Greeks is? And I'm reading them like, this is not that beautiful. Mm-hmm. What is so special about the poetry of the Greeks? But now I get it.
That's the reason.
I get it. It's because they're saying it's because it's white.
That's why it was so beautiful. It was white. Because David wrote some beautiful poems that was spiritually inclined, and they just gonna poo-poo that one.
Yep.
Bro.
It's good to know, bro.
So listen, let's go to verse 22.
1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 22.
Give me 21 again. Let me make sure we get this answer.
1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 21. For after that, in the wisdom of the Most High, the world by wisdom knew not the Most High.
The world didn't know the Most High because they chose not to learn the Most High. The Greeks made it a point to discount anything that had to do with the Most High. Read on.
It pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe.
It pleased the Most High to inspire our people from a position that is not respected at all, to still teach this word, be in the dregs of society, be in the reproach nation on earth, to teach this Bible and not be respected and be the butt of people's jokes. The Most High wants to see that. Because now we got to fight our tails off to earn the respect that we lost globally.
We should have.
We had it and we lost it because we didn't respect the responsibility that came from having that respect. There's a responsibility that you have to own up to in your life to earn respect. And if you can't maintain that order and that responsibility, you're not going to be respected anyway.
You look at the contrast being the Levites were phenomenal writers of meticulously organizing every family line and his father, and we have meticulous records, but then we were sitting here and doing these deals with Sambalat and we were kind of being two-faced to the Most High.
Well, because we didn't respect it. We didn't respect and accept that this responsibility for the level of respect you're getting, you have to carry yourself a certain way. And our works never matched the position he was trying to make us.
Right.
Exodus 19 talks about we're supposed to be a kingdom of what? But we never lived like priests. Our nation never lived like priests, so we weren't going to get the respect of being priests. We kept making so many mistakes. Most of them, you know what? I had to just bring these guys down to nothing. Because their actions are never consistent in putting the Most High first. So why am I going to put them first? Yeah. But let's continue.
Verse 22. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. But we preach Yahushua crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks foolishness.
The Greeks look at Christ as foolishness. Christ's life, Christ's sacrifice, the Bible as foolishness.
He wasted his life. He could have been living.
Yeah.
He could have lived his life.
Because that's what Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 talks about. He says the wicked look at the righteous like they're losing their life, like they wasted their life, and they didn't enjoy their life. That's why he says the Greeks look at following Christ and embracing the burden of Christ as a foolish life. They're going to call it foolish. They're going to call it brutish. They're going to, what was that word again? It was brutish and primitive. It's either primitive, brutish, on a low level, or allegorically, crude, or it's a foolish way of living.
But their wording, they're so good with words.
Well, and this is what Josephus says. Down like says, man, their words surpass everybody else's words, but they're full of lies. So just because they're saying wordy stuff don't mean they're honorable people. And that's Esau to the max. They got these words that sound phenomenal. They sound smart as hell, but they're diabolical in their conduct.
This is why Thomas Sowell said. He said the road to hell has been paved by many Harvard degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's cool.
So he's saying that these degrees don't mean nothing because they don't get you anywhere spiritually.
God.
That's potent, bro.
With all their education, they're still destitute of soul, spirit.
Yep.
So let's connect. Let's go back. Now let's go back to the against Apion. And
people hate that guy. That guy makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it goes to ask for the witnesses. Because we still got to finish this first paragraph off.
Line.
It says ask for the witnesses. I don't know.
Line number 4.
Right, paragraph 1. Right? Yeah. All right. Book 1, paragraph 1, line 4. As for the witnesses, whom I shall produce for the proof of what I say, they shall be such as are esteemed to be of the greatest reputation for truth, and the most skillful in the knowledge of all antiquity.
Of all history. Read on.
By the Greeks themselves.
You see how the standard of intelligence and education is the Greeks? So the only way Josephus could even sit back and defend his people's honor and their history is by using other Greek people to establish a respect of the information that's being dropped out. It's the same thing we face. If we don't go to history books like James Adair and say, your own people said the Native Americans are Jews. If we're just saying it and we're going over Genesis 49, nigger. That ain't what it means. Get out of here.
And what they say is this.
It's the truth.
They say,
you better go with some white historian. You better go to Timothy Jenkins as an author, James Adair, Acosta, Diego Duran. You better go with those people. The white man will respect Diego Duran. Not a Warren Iyer. They're not respecting this guy.
This is the funny part. They'll say, you guys say the white man is wrong, but then you use his books. Because I've read that in comment sections. Look, the comment sections.
It's the great contrarian again. We're going to be the contrarians of Mars Hill again.
So you can't win. You can't win. If you don't use their books, you use black books.
Like, it should not be Akbar on the author, right?
Yeah.
Muhammad. Don't even bring that book up.
Don't respect that.
Don't bring pamphlets out when you try to break down and convince Esau. You might have a really good pamphlet. Do not bring that out when you got to eat them right in front of you.
Did you draw that map? Gonna work, Did you draw that map?
That's what I'm saying.
You drew that. But so if you use that's what happens.
These are as a Hebrew teacher or a person teaching Israelite, you better not bring pamphlets out to white folks out. You better bring hardback books.
I don't want to see this. Show me some facts. Okay,
it's the truth.
You better pull them out.
Or he'll walk off.
The Bible says
he'll walk off. He'll
I don't believe that Bible stuff. What else do you have?
Yes.
And then you got to prove you got to use secular information
to prove the Bible.
Which is backwards.
Because we want to dance in the Bible, and we're not going to dance here, right? You have to dance like the waltz. You have to sit back here. You better show me how to beat me at my own game. You're not going to be. I'm not going to your world.
I don't do it like that.
I don't believe that type of thinking. Give me some knowledge and some history that we can sit back and connect on.
That book has been translated so many times. Then you get that conversation.
Yes.
And then you can't win if you're going to the translation game. Then you go to the
history
game.
You can't win if you say in the Bible.
Then if you go to the history game, well, I have another writer that can dispute with what was written. Then you're going there.
Now it's a stalemate.
It's a stalemate.
This is how he thinks. This is his writing. His system is made up that way. So now, once there's a stalemate, then it's like, are you going to believe those guys? Are you going to believe the reputable people that are accredited, that are respected, that have degrees? Who are you going to listen to?
These are ex-gangbangers and dropouts and thugs.
Yes.
And thugs. When they say those labels on you, then you look like everything you're saying is like not that bad, not that powerful.
I know that.
Thug.
He doesn't even have a command of the English language.
There you go.
He always says, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
They're trying to put you in that. They're trying to make you.
This is how they're thinking. Yes. You know that's what it is.
They're trying to make you that proverbial monkey that we saw in the picture earlier. You're just a mad black guy. At the end of the day, you're just a mad black guy. I understand. I get why you're mad.
Oh man, you want to pull the systematic oppression card? We didn't give you 40 acres and
you have rights to vote. You can get a job. Get a job. That's the next conversation.
Oh,
and then you gotta argue about your career. And then can you really be this career guy and teach the Bible at the same time at a high level? You gotta do 80 hours a week and be crazy in the scriptures. You got to, if you got to, but it's the same game. They're gonna attack your employment.
Yeah.
They're going to attack where you come from, or they're going to attack your sources, or they're going to attack your culture. That's why you have to stand in the scriptures. And then you have to validate the scriptures with historical information.
And that embarrassment that we're experiencing has to happen too. This is part of the punishment that we have to suffer for our wickedness. Didn't cut you
I'm
off.
done. I'm done.
Let's continue, man. Let's go on this Josephus, man.
I will also show that those who have written so reproachfully and falsely about us are to be convicted by what they have written themselves to the contrary.
He says he's going to use their writings against them. He's going to sit back and prove that the same Greeks that are talking about us in other writings have verified our existence. Read on.
I shall also endeavor to give an account of the reasons why it hath so happened, that there hath not been a great number of Greeks who have made mention of our nation in their history.
He says I'm going to prove why the Greeks have omitted us out of our histories. He's saying the Greeks have purposely omitted the Hebrew history out of the history books, out of recognized history books. And he says this is a purposeful thing that was done to discredit us. Read on.
So it was a conspiracy?
Yes, it was definitely a conspiracy. Not even, there's no adding to that. It was a conspiracy to discredit our people and our history. And this has been happening since the Greeks.
And this is why you have to do your own research. Take the time to go to the library and try to find books that haven't been whitewashed. And you have to look at scholars that have been trying to defend the fact that we had a major place in history prior to America even being born as a country.
Right.
And some of those authors, like you got to find, some of those books are $1,000.
Yep.
Some of those books are $5,000. Some of those books you can't even find; they're out of print because you're not going to find it. They hoard the information that can disprove the fact that we had relevance.
Yep.
That's why when you even if you go on Amazon and look up early African presence in Europe, early African presence in America, early African presence in Asia, they came before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima.
Yep.
Even when you go to all these books that show that fight for the showing the presence of where we were in history at different times, those books are $1,000.
Yep.
And so, are you going to pay $1,000 to prove that you were somewhere in history?
Yeah, bro.
That you were validated in history? Are you going to spend that kind of money? You got bills to pay. You got car notes. You got lights. You got electricity. You got water. We don't got the money to go in and get the real education, and that's why they hoard this in universities.
Yep.
You want the real books that show where we are in our dignity. You got to go in their schools and their libraries, and you got to have their passes.
And you got to buy into their ways.
Yeah.
Because listen, you got to be a student. You got to buy into their system out to get all that information out.
Yeah,
you got to be a part of that way of thinking.
You're not, as a regular person, going to have access to the Harvard Library.
Nope.
Right.
You're not getting the
spot-on information sources.
Oh no, you're not getting Stanford Library information.
No.
You're not getting that.
How do you know this?
You're not getting
How do you know this?
Dartmouth College.
Yeah.
They're not letting you into Dartmouth College. Cornell, unless you go to their school, then you have to pay to have access to that information.
Yep.
Right.
And then that's how they keep us out. That's how they make sure you don't get this information that's necessary to prove who you are. You can have confidence and courage. By that time, you done burnt 10 years of education on. You're in debt $200,000 on loans.
Yep.
Now you got to work to pay the loans off.
You better get you a good job.
Now you got to have a job.
You better shave that head. You better shave that face. and get ready for an interview.
Yeah. You're in trouble.
Brother, or just exactly. So, let's continue in Josephus.
Line 5 or continue where we were at?
Continue where we're at.
I will, however, bring those Grecians to light who have not omitted such our history, for the sake of those that either do not know them or pretend not to know them already.
What he's saying is there are a few Greeks that maintain the true history, and the majority of the Greeks silenced it.
Yep.
It's just like the history books we have now. The majority of the books don't acknowledge the fact that the Jews were connected to Native Americans and to the so-called Mexicans and the people of North, Central, and South America and Caribbean islands. Most scholars disagree. But there are a handful of scholars that can sit back here and all they do is they chronicled, like there was a guy named Lord Kingsbury. He was an Englishman. He sat back here and he chronicled. He spent the majority of his fortune going down to the United States and staying with the native tribes and studying their rituals and their habits and their dress and their culture. And he says these people's culture, language, dress, communications, all tie in to the Hebrew Israelites of back in the day, the ancient Hebrew Israelites. James Adair did the same thing. There was Edomites.
You mentioned it earlier too. The one that wrote
Timothy Jenkins.
No, the one that wrote
Fray Duran.
Yeah,
Fray Diego Duran.
Fray Diego Duran did the same thing.
They were those the Franciscan monks.
Yeah, he actually lived in, I think it was Morelos in Mexico, and he lived with the people for 40 years and learned their language, and then correlated the fact that they got to be the Jews, and he specifically said that the tribe of Issachar.
Yep. But he said back did a lot of research on that. And then there was also scholars and historians in Africa, specifically West Africa. There's a book called Hebrewisms of West Africa, and they sat back. Many guys wrote over the years that a lot of the tribes, their cultures were separate from the native African tribes, and their tribes were lined up more to the Hebrew Israelites back in Jerusalem. That's one of those books.
Yeah, that's one of the books right here.
Exactly. I think that's Diego Duran's and one of them. One is, there was historians, there was a small amount of historians that were white that sat back and said, yeah, these people are the true Jews. They are God's chosen people. But this is what Josephus is saying. They were a handful of Greeks that attested that the Hebrew culture and history was correct. And their antiquity goes 5,000 years or so back. But the majority, the boys' club that kept the power and the prestige, they push it a different way. So the masses are going to follow the governing body of the writers and the Stoics and the leaders of that time. Okay,
it's used in psychology because they call it persuasion by authority.
Mm-hmm.
So when you give a person a certain amount of authority, by nature we're trained to follow authority figures from childhood on up. So all they have to do is give authority and glamour and glitz and power and dignity to people that they pick and they choose that go with their pre-curated doctrines, their organized doctrines.
I'm going to read this right here, this little excerpt from Diego Duran. It says, in order to discuss the real and truthful account of the origin and beginnings of these Indian nations, so mysterious and remote to us, this is a Spanish friar that said this, and to discover the real truth about them, some divine revelation or spirit of God would be needed. However, lacking this, it will be necessary to make conjectures and reach conclusions through the many proofs that these people give us with their strange ways and manner of conduct and their lowly conversation, so like that of the Hebrews. Because of their nature, we could almost affirm that they are Jews and Hebrew people.
Come on.
And I believe that I would not be committing a great error if I were to state this fact, considering their way of life, their ceremonies, their rites, their superstitions, their omens, and their dealings, their false dealings, so related to and characteristics of those Jews. The Holy Scripture is a witness of this, and we shall use it as our testimony.
But the funny thing is, a lot of writers that wrote like this, their careers went in the tank after they published them. Like that guy Lord Kingsbury went broke after he sat back here and did his findings. There was a period of time where a lot of these writers were attacked by their own peers for writing this stuff out and publishing it. So the reality is that these people that did stand up for what was right, they were demonized for even standing up for what's right and right in these scenarios. But the Most High put it in some of these people's spirits so that the knowledge can continue to go on. So let's get to paragraph 2, sir.
Paragraph 2, line 6. And now, in the first place, I cannot but greatly wonder at those men who suppose that we must attend to none but Grecians.
Read it again.
And now, in the first place, I cannot but greatly wonder at those men who suppose that we must attend to none but Grecians, when we are inquiring about the most ancient facts.
He says, I don't understand why everything got to start and finish with these white people when we go into the history. This is what Josephus is saying, huh? Why does everything have to start and end with white people, right? When we're dealing with history of life and the existence of society. Why does it start and finish with these people, man? This is what this guy is saying.
This is bad.
Read on.
And
This is what we always say. Read on.
And must inform ourselves of their truth from them only.
He says, and we have to learn about our history from them. We got to go to the Greek person to learn about black history.
Because if you want a job, you got to go to college. and if you don't go to college, you can't get a job.
That's the point.
And that's the catch.
But doesn't this sound like a brother on the street speaking, my guy? This sound like a brother on the street. Why you gotta go to the white man to sit back here and get married? Have you heard that before on the street speaking zone? Why you gotta go to the white man for permission to do anything? I gotta go to the white man and learn about the Hebrew history, our people.
Yep.
He's like, and this is Joseph. Like, why is it got to be this way? Why we got to go to them to get taught who we are? It doesn't make sense. And do you think that if we go to him to find out who we are, he gonna tell me the truth, knowing he's my enemy?
Yeah.
Why would I even think him being my enemy is gonna sit back here and tell me what I need to get strong and eventually usurp him? He's not gonna tell me the truth. That's foolishness to think. Read on.
And must inform ourselves of their truth from them only.
And then we got to understand their truth from them. And we can't research and find out who they really are and what they're really about. We got to take their word for their information because they're the only experts about it.
Right.
And we don't have the capacity for free thought, common sense, and the capability to research what these folks really are. Read on.
While we must not believe ourselves nor other men.
Yeah, we're not supposed to sit back here and believe other reports, other history that would coincide to the correct way of looking at things. Nobody else is making sense but them. Nobody else's history and information is true unless the white man gives you the okay and the verification.
And Malcolm X said, he said this. He said, only a fool will let his enemy teach his children.
That's the point.
That's a true fact.
And this is what other Hebrew historians are saying 2,300 years ago. Read on.
But they say if you want to hide something from a black man,
read in the book.
Put it in the book.
Kinda.
You're never going to look at it.
You're not going to look at it.
Where's the truth? I don't know where the knowledge is. How do I get knowledge of self?
I'm waiting for a sign.
Kinda. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. But let's keep going.
For I am convinced that the very reverse is the truth of the case.
He says the very reverse of how they set it up is really the case. You can't go to them. They're going to tell you a lie. And if we do our research, we'll get a better understanding of things than listening to them. Read on.
I mean this, if we will not be led by vain opinions, but will make inquiry after truth from facts themselves.
Can we just use facts?
No.
But what the Esau deals with allegories and ideals and opinions.
Theories.
Theories. The whole theory of like evolution is a guess.
Theory of relativity.
It's a guess that a bunch of people backed, and now it's more of a guess. It's a good guess. It's a great guess.
No, it's stated as a fact because you get it in elementary school when you can't question things.
Yep. And so that's the thing. So their whole thing is on guesses and ideas. He says, can we see with facts? Can we stop guessing stuff and deal with some real concrete information? Bro.
Well, then that's when J. Edgar Hoover's program come into play to eliminate your program.
Yeah.
You know.
Now you're a threat.
Now you're a threat. Now you got to be. There will be no black messiahs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where J. Edgar Hoover comes in and say we're not going to let a black messiah rise up and orchestrate unity amongst the people.
Yep.
So now you got to go.
Yeah.
And that was the creation and formation of the FBI.
Yep.
Or, you know, and that's and their programs that they have.
Yep.
Paperclip.
God. So Josephus like, can we stay in facts and not with these ideas? Read on.
For they will find that almost all which concerns the Greeks happened not long ago.
He said, if you sit back here and really look at it, everything that happened to the Greeks happened only a handful of years ago. They're not this deep, ancient people that they want to portray themselves to be. They want to tie themselves to ancient civilizations, and they were nothing in the ancient times. Read on.
Nay, one may say, is of yesterday only.
He said they're a babe in regards to nations and their origins. They just got started in 331 BC as a world power. They just got started. Before them, they were a bunch of just ship-wielding, low-level people with no history before the 300s. Read on. All you had was the Trojan War. That's it. Achilles. That's all you got at? Is him fighting Hector at? Whack, bro. Just keep going, man.
I speak of the building of their cities, the inventions of their arts, and the description of their law.
He says the building of their cities, the invention of their arts, and the description of their laws is all new. This isn't something that they have ancient history tied into their art, their language. It says their art, their language, and their architecture, right? Their structures, right?
Their cities, yes.
Their cities. Did I sit back here and give me 1 second?
The Greeks were known for those sculptures.
Mm-hmm.
They love the sculptures, especially the naked ones. The little Peabody fountains, the water fountains.
Look what he's doing.
They love the Corinthian style pillar building, monument building. They love art. They love theater. They build coliseums. They love theater. They love acting. And they said, but all that
the boys play the girls and the boys.
Yeah, they love that too. They love the acting. They love the theater, tragedy. They love story time. But he said, but that was new. But as far as them as a people, as a whole, they weren't an antiquated people. Their civilization wasn't recognized to be of an ancient status. And that's all Josephus is saying. He's saying they've really only been up and running for a couple of 100 years before Josephus.
Yes. Now I want to read this book. It's called A Survey of European Civilization. And then it goes into, it says, how the characters which you are now reading came to be derived and adapted from the more ancient alphabet systems is a complicated story. Because what they're saying is they can't explain how the Greeks got their writing. Historians can't explain it. What they like to say is that they learned their writing from, their origins were from the Phoenicians. But really, all they did was steal Phoenician art, steal Phoenician designs and their structures and their buildings. They just stole it from the Zidonians, the Phoenicians. We're going to read. Keep going. And it says, the Western European, it says, and authorities disagree on many points in it. The Western European peoples inherited their alphabet from the Romans, which received it from the Greeks. The Greeks seem to have adapted it to their needs by a variant used, very probably, so they can't even prove it. But they said, we're assuming they have their language from the Phoenician merchants. Fragments of pottery and stones being recognizable lettering have been found in ruins which date from 2000 to 1500 BC, suggesting that the alphabetic writing is nearly 4,000 years old. But when you read Josephus, he says they couldn't even prove that. They said they couldn't even prove where their writing came from. So history says their writing is 4,000 years old, but you really can't physically prove it on paper. He says if it was writing was theirs, it would be in their temples.
True.
Yeah.
He says it's not in their temples. They don't have any writing in their temples. They're just making things up to make their nation older than what they are. They just said their writing was 4,000 years old.
But you don't have any 4,000-year-old tablets.
Nothing writing that says 4,000 years old at all. It started 700 BC. But you got to sit back here and tie their culture to Phoenicia, which takes you back 4,000 years ago.
They're scamming.
That's the point. They're scamming to try to make their culture more ancient than what it is. They're lying. Their language don't even tie into the Phoenician language. Everything was made up around 700 BC. That's when they started. But they want to establish their nation like it's 4,000 years ago. So give us respect.
Yeah.
This is what they're doing. Everything's a lie and a hustle. So let's continue. It says, where are we at in Josephus, sir?
And I continue reading. And as for their care about the writing down of their histories, it is very near the last thing they set about.
He says their writing was one of the last things they set up.
And the Rosetta Stone is a large stone tablet circa 196 BCE that was discovered in Egypt in 1799. It is important because it allowed researchers to translate ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics in writing for the first time. So we know that Rosetta Stone had the ancient hieroglyphics, and it had the Greek also on there, which gave them the notion of being able to translate the hieroglyphics. But that stone. They said it was dated 196.
There you go.
Which is 100 years after Alexander landed and took over the Persians.
So, exactly. So it still ties in it. Their language wasn't that damn old because they can't. They say you see how the verbiage was real weird. It said the verbiage, the way they explained. They said how the characters of their language, their letters, which you are now reading, came to be derived and adapted from the more ancient alphabetic systems is a complicated story. Why is it complicated? Either you did it or you didn't. Either it was old or it wasn't old. It's complicated. That's how he makes it deep. It's deep, man. This is deep. This is so deep. The history of the Greek language is so deep. And it's so complex. That's jargon for I really don't know how old it is. But we got to make a story up.
We're going to guess.
This is a history book that says it's complicated.
Yeah.
And historians say it's around 4,000 years ago. Like, what? But you can't prove it because it's so complicated. Then it says...
You wouldn't know.
It's just there's all this science to it.
You don't know.
There's all this science to it.
I'm a doctor. You don't know. It's too complicated for you to know.
It's over your pay grade. But trust me, it's deep. And it's complicated.
Yeah.
But leave that for the smart guys over here to figure all this out. Make sure that everything's cool. And then it says, and authorities disagree on many points because there's no way that you can really prove the origin of the language. The Western European peoples inherited their alphabet from the Romans, who received it from the Greeks. The Greeks seem to have adapted it to their needs from a variant used very probably. It's still probably. There's no guarantee.
Very probably.
Maybe from the Phoenician merchants.
Possibly.
So what are they saying? The Phoenicians had a greater history and culture than the Greeks. The Phoenicians were taking their boats to Greece to make money, to sell to these backwood hicks, and getting product and selling product to them.
Indo-European.
And then they'll sit back. Oh yeah. We got our language goes back to the Phoenician times. What are you talking about? They can't even prove that. But even how they're explaining their alphabet origins is suspect. It's suspect as hell. But let's go back. Let's continue into Josephus.
Line 8. However, they acknowledge themselves so far that they were the Egyptians, the Chaldeans, and the Phoenicians.
You see what they're saying?
Everything.
They call themselves the Egyptians, the Chaldeans, the Phoenicians. They tie themselves to all these cultures that had ancient history. And when you read that same book, Those are the three countries that they align themselves with as saying this is the foundation of history. The cradle of civilization, they say it's the Chaldeans, the Phoenicians, and the Egyptians. That's when history, when you read about the white man in history, it starts with those three countries.
Yep.
Because they've taken those three cultures and assimilate all their doctrine and information based off the 10,000 books they took from them. There's other histories that explain that. When Ptolemy got in power, he sat back here and commissioned a certain person that was over the procurement of histories to get all the books that were worth a damn in the world. And they got all the books that was worth a damn, and they got them translated into Greek. And then when they were translated into Greeks,
We wrote this.
we wrote it. There you go. That's what they did. We took all your books, all your science, all your education, all your construction books, all your language books, all your history books, all your math books, all your science books, and now it's our science.
That's intellectual robbery.
God,
Is there a term for this?
theft. There's thieves.
This is intellectual property. Yeah, there's intellectual property, and they're mad at the Chinese because the Chinese are doing the same thing that they did thousands of years ago. They're playing little spy games. They're putting little backdoor computer programs, and they're stealing all their scientific relevant information so they can be equivalent technology to their society.
And the white man's like, hey, no fair. That's espionage.
Don't do that.
That's espionage.
Don't do these things.
But what did the Greeks do? We're going to get all the knowledge in the world, have it translated, and then say it was us.
We did that. So hopefully
We are the leading innovators through the world, and we're going to take the world to the next level.
we brought you the science.
Because now we have the knowledge.
Yeah.
By the way, we created it.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. He's saying that the Greeks have taken credit for Egyptian, Chaldean, and Phoenician work.
Hippocrates.
Father of modern medicine.
Yep. Universally recognized as the father of modern day medicine, which is based on observation of clinical signs and rational conclusions.
After you stole all the science books from the Egyptians and the Chaldeans and the Zidonians.
Yep.
Now I'm an authority of all things
medicine.
Hypocritical. I know it's a Hippocratic
The Hippocratic oath.
I am the authority of all knowledge of science. I am a doctor.
Yeah.
You see how they took everybody's greatest achievements and made it theirs.
He never did anything.
That's the Greek culture. That's the white man for you. He'll steal everything that's yours and then call it his. Listen. I'll never forget. I was watching on YouTube one day or somewhere, and they was showing the King, Elvis Presley. You're like, you ain't nothing but a hound dog.
You ain't nothing.
You say, okay, that was kind of a catchy tune. Then you sit back here 10 years before, there was an old Judah woman said that song. Yeah. And she's the one that made it first.
Big Mama Thornton.
Yeah, listen, she's the one that said, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. If you think about it, it's really a song that a woman writes about a man. Yeah. Not a man writing about himself.
A hound dog.
That don't even make sense that a man sings it. Point is, a Judite woman made the song hot, and he just sit there little whoop-de-whoop and made me.
Yeah.
He got that for somebody else too. He got that for some brothers too.
Did he?
Yeah, the brother that dance. Brothers used to do that and get the women like doing that kind of stuff. And he said I could do it too.
He stole it off.
It's like, man, this guy's the
I
king.
get a shimmy out.
He's the king.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's blown up and he's the king now. Right?
There ain't no friend of mine.
This is how Esau does things, right? This has been going on from the beginning of time. I'm going to steal. I see Phoenicians with letters. We will make letters that look like them and make our own language.
Did you know that?
And they say it was 4,000 years old.
Yes.
They didn't start writing letters and writing poems till 700s. 700 BC.
That's such a good poem.
And then they want to sit back and say it was 4,000 years old. You lying SOB. And you can't do that because they're going to kill you because they have a superior military than you.
This is not true.
Yes, it is.
Now you better say it.
And all they got, all guys hit their damn staffs. Okay, whatever you say, man. And over time, that lie becomes the truth. Josephus is trying to sit back here and let everybody know, how are you guys letting this happen?
Because even paper, which is papyrus, which came out of reeds made from grown in Egypt, Egyptians created paper, which is also known as papyrus.
Yeah.
So how were they writing, and what were they writing on when they didn't have writing instruments?
And they said the only thing you got, where is the writing in your temples? There's no writing in the history in your temples, so is it on your walls? Where is any evidence of writing in your civilization at all?
That's this guy.
That is 4,000 years old. They just said that the Phoenicians would bring art. They were bringing all kind of resources up there. They were trading with them.
Yep.
So if you see some pottery in Greece, does that mean they made it, or did the pottery and the writing come from the Phoenicians? And you automatically, that was Greek. That was Greek. That's what it was.
Greek pottery.
That's Greek art, Greek pottery,
Amazing.
Greek design. It's not really Greek art. It's Phoenician art.
That's Corinthian leather.
Yes. They're the best leather.
It's ridiculous, bro.
It is good leather, though.
I know that. But you get the point. Esau was taking all of it and claiming it to be his. So read that part again, Don.
Line 8. However, they acknowledged themselves so far that they were the Egyptians.
They called themselves the Egyptians. They took the place. Listen, they were sitting back here wearing Egyptian headdresses and Egyptian clothing. They were doing that. That's what Cleopatra was all about. People really think Cleopatra was a sister. And she was never a sister. She was always an Edomite.
You took our Cleopatra from us.
Wearing Greek clothes. I mean, wearing Egyptian clothes. She was a white gal. The Ptolemies were dressing like Egyptians. The Ptolemies were white people. Dressing like Egyptian and then assimilating themselves into the culture of the Egyptians. Because they didn't have a culture. They didn't have a culture. So when they won, they're kicking everybody's tail. They won in 3 years. They, okay, now we won. We got to sit back and set up a culture. We need all these books. Right after Alexander's top generals died, the next generation was like, we got to sit back here and set up a culture now. We need all these books done.
I said, Daddy, what were we, Daddy, before your time?
We were going to figure this out.
We was
killing and fighting.
We was out there taking the world over.
Fighting and killing.
And we invented math. Yeah, son, we invented the math. We invented the triangle. We invented the
Look, it's all written in Greek. All you got to do is they take all the books, swish them out, and into Greek, and now this is our knowledge. All you got to do is scratch out the name of the author.
Because actually, they're the ones that never did anything.
I know.
How about that? How about his projection? We never did anything. We were never about nothing. No, you never did anything. You were never about anything.
That's what this is. That's what this is.
You're the monkey. Not me.
You have the early history. No, you got the late history. No, we got the late history. The Greeks got the late history. And they're saying everybody else got late history.
Yep.
Meaning you guys are not significant. Because to say you have late history, you have no real clout.
Yep.
You have no real... Why should we respect you with such late history?
Yeah.
You see that they just create the lie and everybody bought it.
Somebody has to justify their authority.
Yes.
And that's what the purpose of the lie is for.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
It's to justify my authority, why we're in charge, and why the world should trade in Greek currency.
Yep.
and use the Greek system and the language.
Amazing.
We have to justify it somehow. So one way is to say we're an older civilization than you.
So you got to respect us.
So you got to respect us.
Bro.
And that's a tactic of an enemy.
It's psychological.
Yeah.
It's psychological warfare, right?
Yep.
You understand you're really a barbarian. You wouldn't get this.
Kinda. And all they did is just use a bunch of fluff words and stolen, plagiarized information, and they consolidated it.
Because they put the
Esau's very good at consolidating information, consolidating all the best knowledge and the best understanding of the time and in present times, and let's take it, get it in our language, learn it, and disseminate it as we choose. Then we set up these universities and these schools that only the elites can go to, and we have control over. Now we can control and disseminate knowledge, and we're going to make you feel like low-level barbarians. We're going to call you a barbarian because you don't speak our language. We have all the books. I don't know why they didn't. Mortimer, I don't know why they didn't think about this before.
Yeah.
That's what they're sitting back here thinking. I like it's trading places or something like that. Why didn't somebody else do this? Well, we got them now. We're going to control all of the world's knowledge and call it ours. And say our knowledge goes back 4,000 years ago.
And it makes so much sense because Isaiah 33:19 says, "Thou shalt not see a fierce people, a people of a deeper speech than thou canst perceive, of a stammering tongue that thou canst not understand." What part of what they were saying is their language is a challenge to understand because you're not coming from their language.
Okay.
You're coming from a different language. So now you got to learn their system, learn their books, learn their language. It automatically puts you in a subservient position. Well, I don't know what that word means. What do you mean by that? Well, let me tell you what it means.
I don't understand what it means. I'm gonna take it as disrespect. Now you look like an ignorant fool.
You look ignorant
because you don't know how to handle.
I can't. What word is that? Well, this is Greek. You would understand Greek or Latin. You don't know anything.
You see a lot of Israelites get chewed up in these debates with these Edomite scholars because these Edomite scholars speak Greek.
I know.
And they translate the word in Greek, and then they tell the person that they're debating against, a Hebrew Israelite they're debating against, that's not what that means because in Greek that the translation means this. And then now you're stumbling like, man, do I hold on to the English version of this Greek word as being truth, or do I got to trust what the Edomite saying, who is debating my understanding of the Bible because he can actually speak Greek, or at least interpret it.
You speak Greek, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Then you don't know what you're talking about.
You're disqualified.
You're disqualified to debate with me. Yeah.
Are you from Israel? You're not from Israel.
Yeah.
It's the same game, huh?
Listen, read Romans 10 and 19, and this verse makes a whole lot more sense now. Romans 10 and 19.
Romans chapter 10 and verse 19. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people.
Who's a no people? The Greeks were a no people. Why were they a no people? They had no culture. They had no language. They had no history. I'm going to provoke you to jealousy by people that don't even have a national language, that don't have a history longer than 300 years ago, and they're going to sit back here and take you over and say you're the portion monkey that don't have no history. That's what a no people is. We know back in the day the no people was Edomites is no people. Why are they a no people? They had no history. They had no identity. They were just sitting back here a bunch of warring tribes in Greece fighting just to sit back here and stabilize their nation. They were a bunch of nobodies.
Gangs in New York, huh?
It was gangs in New York. It was a bunch of killers. And they sat back here and plagiarized everything. We took Phoenician letters and tweaked the letters and made them close to our letters. Meaning, we took their language, stole it, tweaked how they looked, and now this is our language. Now we're going to take an entire nation's knowledge and history, translate it, make it ours. That's a no people trying to become a people.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's exactly what that is. I'm going to provoke you to jealousy by promoting a no people. This is why Josephus is so mad. He's like, why the hell are y'all no people ass people saying that we're no people? Saying our history is late, your history is late.
That was by design.
I know, that was the Most High's will.
Right. There's Psalms chapter 50. Psalms chapter 50 and read verse 16.
Psalm chapter 50 and verse 16.
Psalm chapter 50, verse 16.
But unto the wicked the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statute?
But the Most High said, because our people got what? Our people grew wicked.
Yep.
So the Most High said, what are you doing with my words where?
That thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth.
The Most High said, because your behavior grew so wicked,
Yep.
my words, my principles, my laws, statutes, and commandments shouldn't even be in your mouth.
Yep.
Because your behavior don't match the meaning and the interpretation behind the words of what they're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be learning how to love. The law is to learn how to love each other. He said, but because we don't know how to love each other, the Most High said, why is my words even in your mouth? You shouldn't even be speaking the Bible because your behavior don't match. So read on.
Seeing thou hatest instruction.
So the Most High said our people hate what?
Instruction.
They hate to be told what to do.
Yep.
So what does the Most High do? He lets a no people speaking Greek come and tell us
with no
our history.
culture,
with no culture, no tradition, no history. Tell us how to live and tell us how to survive.
What's right and what's wrong.
And tell us who we are.
Yes.
He said because the Most High, that was by design. Because the Most High didn't like our behavior. So he let somebody else come in and take authority over us and tell us what to eat, tell us what to read, tell us what school to go to, tell us what job to work for, tell us go get this paperwork if you want to buy a house, pay these taxes, do all these things simply because you didn't appreciate instruction. Now you're going to get instructed by somebody who wasn't even a people.
Who really shouldn't be respected.
Who really was a caveman.
Yes, and that's later on in the class.
Low level.
Yeah.
Low level people.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are crude.
I know.
Yeah.
Everything they projected on us, they were at. They were the crude and base people.
You gotta get that off of me. That's you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not me.
It's crazy, act. But I'm keep going, I'm sorry.
But no, that's it. So he said, man, listen, the Most High, because the Most High, that was by design that the Most High allowed these other nations to have the authority over us, because we didn't appreciate what we had to begin with.
No doubt, bro.
We didn't appreciate the scriptures. We didn't appreciate the commandments. Had we appreciated the commandments and the Bible and the laws, we wouldn't have these other people telling us what to do and how to live.
Controlling us.
Controlling you. Telling you got to pay a water bill, light bill. Telling you you got to have a license to go get married.
How to raise your children.
How to raise your kids.
Bro.
What to wear. What to buy.
Go see the judge.
Yeah.
The judge want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Sure does.
Determining your prison sentence.
Yeah.
Jail sentence. Whatever it may be. The Most High said, you got to go to your enemies now.
Kinda.
Since you didn't want to hear it from me, no problem. I got somebody already waiting for you to listen to. Yeah. And these people are barbaric. That was by design. We can let that go.
Okay, let's continue on. Let's go back to however in Josephus.
And Josephus is a history book, of course, that coincides with the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Everybody know.
That's line 8. However, they acknowledged themselves so far that they were the Egyptians, the Chaldeans, and the Phoenicians.
Bro, they're sitting back here taking entire nations' identities out. This is identity theft on its greatest level.
Yeah, that's literary theft.
Let's really taking your identity. We're calling ourselves the Chaldeans and the Egyptians and the Phoenicians and tying ourselves into their culture.
Anybody of any ancient importance.
That
was us.
We taking their gods.
Well,
we're taking their idols. We're taking their rituals, their culture, their dress, everything. We're making it ours.
False claiming. People get mad when you like,
I'm
with them.
But when you're not the boss and they got the sword over you like this, what you gonna say?
It's true.
They can sit back here and cut you off and wipe you off the planet. You gonna sit back and obey. And then 100 years later, everybody forgets. They forget. This is why this history is so important as reminders that this stealing and putting themselves and propping themselves in a position has always been happening. What was that verse in Romans 10 and 19 again?
Romans chapter 10 and verse 19. It says, "But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people."
If that's not going to make us jealous, I don't know what is. A nation that had a history that was 400 years old gets in power, and then all of a sudden takes our knowledge and the whole region's knowledge, and then says, we were the irrelevant, insignificant people. And they're the ones that have the 4,000 year history, and now we mean nothing now. Now the whole world looks at us, looks at the Jew, as they're worthless individuals.
You were just monkeys.
And the
There's
crazy
this
thing is, this is 97 AD, so we already got captured. Jerusalem is destroyed. We have no city.
True.
We have no country that's ours.
True.
And we've lost our identity. Isn't that jealousy right there? And we lost our city, we lost our country, and people are going to forget us. People are going to forget we even existed. Why do you think Josephus is rolling like this? He's like, people are going to forget we actually ever mattered. And you know what they did? They did forget that we mattered. His worst fears came true.
Which justifies the abortion theories, which justifies the Planned Parenthood, which justifies Margaret Sanger eugenics program, which means you get rid of the people that are bringing no contribution to society.
Yeah.
If you're not a contribution to society, the wealthy say you should be what?
Eliminated.
You should be eliminated.
That's facts.
So then you're a roach.
You're causing the system too much.
You're a roach. You're looked at as a pest.
Yeah.
You're looked at as a disease.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because you bring no contributions to society. So we have
we took the knowledge. We took the knowledge of the fact that we did contribute to society.
We steal it from you, and then tell you that this justifies why we should have the majority of all abortion clinics in your neighborhood.
Yep.
Because we got to eliminate the roaches, which Margaret Sanger said we are. We're the undesirable people.
Yep.
And that's why the Most High called us a nation not desired. We are a nation not desired.
But we earned that stigma because we didn't want to be the nation desired. We didn't want to carry the responsibility of leading the nations. We want to be like the nations. We want to fit in with the nations. We want to follow their idols and their ways. And we didn't respect and appreciate our birthright, which is our responsibility. We didn't want to be the big brother. The big brother got to be the responsible one. He can't mess around. He can't be an idiot. He has to be responsible for his brothers and sisters. And we didn't like that pressure. So you don't want the pressure? Then I'm going to take anything from you that is desirable and respectable. I'm going to take everything from you and make this no people the it people. The it nation, what everybody wants to be
I'll
like.
cause you to be jealousy. Then you're wearing Tommy Hilfiger like this. Then you're riding horses. You're on horses. You're trying
rolling
to
just like him.
And then you're wearing Abercrombie and Fitch like this. You're a black dude. Then you're Jimi Hendrix with the guitar, and you're looking all crazy with some European guys, getting super high. You're the token Negro.
Yep, that's the truth. Fighting to fit in.
Then you're singing songs.
You're doing a Carlton dance.
Or you're making songs on rap songs about I hope my black skin doesn't dirty up my white suit.
My white suit in this Basquiat.
Basquiat's being shown. I hope my black skin doesn't dirty up my white suit in the water on these rich white people looking at Basquiat art. Like you hear that? It's like, what the hell is going on?
Yes.
Why is this guy worried that his black skin is going to dirty his white suit around all these white people at a Basquiat auction? What the hell's going on here? Where are you like black skin dirties white suits? I didn't know that. I thought dirt is dirt. I thought white people have the same type of dirt than black people. Like black skin melts on white clothes. Is that what's going on here?
That's a real thing.
My black's gonna rub off.
That's what he said. The dirty black is gonna rub off on the skin and go on the white clothes.
Damage my white suit.
And I'm gonna look bad in front of these white folks.
I'm ashamed.
That's what I'm saying. It's all shame. I hate my skin. I hate who I am. These people are superior when they never were.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But we forfeited that because we hated serving the Most High and following His laws and commandments.
Keep it disciplined.
We hated being who we were called to be, so the Most High brought us low. This is what being brought low is. He allowed the white man to sit back here and brainwash us and flip history upside down.
True.
If we weren't going to respect who we were as Jews, why would He give us any shine and any respect and any power and any dignity? He's not going to do that.
We're not respected, brother.
And you know what?
Respected in this world.
And we earn that. We earn that moniker. Because we hated serving the Most High. That's sad, bro. It's sad. Y'all had anything else on that? No, I want to go one more. Did we finish Romans 10 and 19 about the jealousy? Continue.
I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people.
A people with no history, with no language, with no writing, with no antiquity. These people are going to be the people we got to follow. Read on.
And by a foolish nation I will anger you.
A foolish nation that doesn't look at books literally. They look at it allegorically. That's foolishness, huh?
It's a metaphor.
Everything's a damn metaphor. Can we just, is black black? Well, maybe a tint of gray. Is it black or is it white? Esau wants to find these little middle areas, these little middle angles, and come out of a right or wrong type of scenario.
To dismiss him
That's the foolishness.
from morality. He's trying to dismiss himself from morality.
That's the point.
Blur lines.
But that is the basis of his knowledge.
You're just legalistic.
What does that
You're
even
just
mean?
being legalistic. Like, you try to talk to somebody about anything, that's just legalism. Like, what are you talking about? There are biblical laws, bro.
There is a right and there's a wrong. There is a yes and there's a no. There's a black and there's a white. But Esau doesn't operate in those frames. Because if you remove those frames, now you're free.
Then the beast is revealed.
You're free, but you're free without those rules and those restrictions. Anyway, so that's how we are made jealous. So there's no people that had no culture, but wants to act like they're on a level. Doesn't that piss you off when people act like they're on a level you know they're not? And they just stunt like they're just the smartest guy in the room, and you know they're a bunch of idiots with nothing that bases their pride? That will bring anybody to anger and jealousy. But this, you know what this is? Go to Daniel chapter 2,
That's
verse
like guys
31.
in sports, they get mad. In podcasts, they get angry because these guys that never played NBA level basketball or NFL level basketball.
LeBron's is not a winner.
Yeah, they'll have like a 30, 45 minute show and critique and shred everything every day.
These guys are 300 pounds.
But you have never made past 4 points. What's that guy? It was
Skip Bayless.
Skip Bayless, huh?
They kept blowing up Skip. Skip, what'd you do, Skip? I played high school basketball. I was like, get out of here.
He averaged like 3 points a game.
You never did
I remember
that.
Jalen Rose embarrassed him like that. What'd you ever do?
He got kicked off.
Sports ever.
He got kicked off.
Hell yeah. You got out of there.
Embarrassed Skip Bayless because the greatest level of sports ever played was high school basketball.
And he wasn't a starter, right?
And he wasn't the man.
He was coming off the bench, right?
But that really is hitting Eurocentric society.
Yep.
Because you haven't accomplished his accomplishments.
But he has words. He's a writer.
You're the critiquer of everybody else's culture, but you never had a culture.
Yep.
Until you took somebody's books and wrote it in your own language and said it was you.
Huh?
That is embarrassing.
Kinda.
You're just mad, Shannon. He was better than you.
Yes.
Golly, bro.
Skip. Take off. Put your glasses back on. Skip.
And sit down.
Sit down. The country came out of him.
What do you think you're going to do?
Bro.
I'm a Hall of Famer. Like, yeah, but I can critique your whole life and never have caught a football in my life.
Kinda.
He had a problem with that.
But let's go to Daniel 2 and 31 and 32. This gives another glimpse on. We've read these verses 1,000 times, but we read it, in Romans 10 and 19, that a no people was going to be put in front of us. And now we're going to say a better understanding what that no people is. No culture, no history, no real civilization. And we got to follow this. Now, with that in mind, let's read Daniel 2, verse 31 and 32.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible.
For those of y'all who don't know, Daniel 2 talks about the prophecy of the different kingdoms that are going to rise after Israel falls. It gives you Babylon, the Babylonian kingdom. It gives you the Persian Mede Empire. Then it gives you the Greek Empire. Then it gives you the Roman Empire. But look at the varying degrees of how they explain this. Read on.
This image's head was of fine gold.
The head, the first kingdom that's being talked about is the Babylonian Empire. Okay, led by the King Nebuchadnezzar. They were referred to as the kingdom of gold. And the gold, silver, brass is all talking about different calibers of metal. Gold is the best you can get. And when you're reading scripturally, because even when you go to Corinthians chapter 3, 1 Corinthians, he talks about in our works, we're supposed to be shooting for gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, right? That's the different classifications of our commitment to the Most High. So gold is the top. So he's like, as far as caliber and integrity, outside of Israel, the Babylonian kingdom was the most respected nation. It was a gold standard of how things were supposed to operate in the world and how they treated other nations around them. Read on.
This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver.
The next kingdom that came into power was of lesser caliber than the Babylonian Empire. Now, it lasted longer, but it was of a lesser caliber, and that was the Persian and Mede Empire. And the Persian and Mede Empire were looked upon as a silver level kingdom and empire.
It only lasted 40 years.
No, not the Persian and Mede. Persian and Mede was 200 plus.
Well, yes, 200 plus.
Yeah, the Babylonians, yes.
Babylonians only lasted
70
years total.
But yeah,
605 to 538.
But they were still the gold standard.
Yeah.
When it lasted shorter, Persian was longer, but their caliber was diminishing over time. So they had a silver kingdom. Babylon had a gold. But the reason I'm going here, we're going to talk about these Greek boys. Read on.
His belly and his thighs of brass.
His belly and his thighs were as brass. That means that third kingdom that came into power was of copper or brass. Brass is nothing close to silver and to gold. It's not even close. If you were someone like money back in those days, you know what money and silver and gold, gold back money. It wasn't brass. Brass was a dime a dozen. It was a conduit. It was a conduit for energy, but it wasn't of a high caliber. So he's letting you know the Greek Empire was of what? Of a lower caliber. It was a no people and it was a lower caliber people, despite the idea that they were civilization started with the Greeks. It didn't. Their civilization was mediocre at best, with a bunch of theft and plagiarism behind it. So that brass is denoting a very low caliber kingdom. So with all that pomp and circumstance and talk, intelligent talk, the meat and potatoes of these people's souls was low level. And he's telling you through their kingdom, through the prophecy. The Babylonians had a better caliber kingdom, the Persians were second, and these guys were third, and the Romans were even worse. They were the fourth beast. That fourth kingdom that was of iron and miry clay. Now, iron and miry clay. Iron is what? Strong. The strongest of all those metals is iron. So they were militarily strong, stronger than the rest of them, but their substance was nothing. Their value was nothing. They brought nothing to the table spiritually. So keep that in mind
at
at
societal level. The morality of their culture and the code of conduct amongst their culture and the social clarity of their culture and how they interact with people and their laws and their systems and the justice of that society had no honor.
That's the point. And he's telling you the different levels of honor based on the gold, silver, brass, and iron and clay.
And also the Greeks, it says that the Greeks traded brass, but they initially considered it an expensive exotic metal. So not only did Daniel prophesy that they were the brass kingdom, but they thought that brass was expensive. They
were low-level dudes.
They were low-level people.
That's horrible.
It says the Greek called brass Kalkos, which means brilliant and white copper. It says so they thought brass was the bomb.
The rest of the world was rocking gold and silver, right?
Yeah.
And these dudes pulling up the rear with brass, with nickels. And they got pennies. We got pennies.
Shiny pennies on.
Penny change. We put penny monuments, stuff like this on. It's horrible. That was the caliber of their nation.
That brass oxidized quick.
Yes, you would clean it all the time.
Yeah. Every 3 days. Oxidizing that.
We clean it all the time, man. Yeah. But that's the caliber of their nation and scripture. I mean, that's a great tie-in on that level, but that's how they are. That was their nation. So with that, let's go back and finish off this last part of this paragraph. We're going to stop it after this paragraph, because this, not the whole paragraph, but this last part, because there's more to it. we can do next week. Read on.
Line 8.
Just read the however part from the top. Yes.
However, they acknowledged themselves so far that they were the Egyptians, the Chaldeans, and the Phoenicians. For I will not now reckon ourselves among them.
He says, I'm not going to sit back and associate ourselves with them at all, and neither are they going to associate themselves with us at all, at least yet. At least yet. Read on.
That have preserved the memorials of the most ancient and most lasting traditions of mankind.
Mm-hmm. So he says, they're saying they have preserved all of the most ancient traditions and histories. Read on.
For at least subject to destruction.
For almost.
For almost all these nations inhabit such countries as are least subject to destruction from the world about them. And these also have taken especial care to have nothing omitted of what was remarkably done among them.
Those three nations, Phoenicians, Egyptians, and Chaldeans, kept expert records. Read on.
But their history was esteemed sacred and put into public tables, as written by men of the greatest wisdom they had among them.
So what they're saying is the Greeks respected their information and their doctrines, but they had a disdain for us. The funny thing is this, you know it was the Most High. Because the Greeks had a respect for all these nations' 4,000 to 5,000 year history. But all of a sudden they didn't respect the history and antiquities of the Jews. If that's not the Most High, I don't know what is. There was enough history of our people to use as
Proof.
Great lessons for their civilization too. The Most High put it in the Greek spirit to discount us and to put us down as that punishment. That's why he did it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
We're going to leave it at that. We got a lot in, and we didn't get very far in this breakdown or in this page. But we won't make it more than 2 days, I promise. But there's more information we'll go into next week. All right? Are there any questions? Let's sit up prayer. Imagine Wapanya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Please listen to us right now.
Please listen to us right now.
Send Michael.
Send Michael.
And the righteous angels.
And the righteous angels.
To watch over.
To watch over.
Bless.
Bless.
Heal.
Heal.
Protect.
Protect.
And make strong.
And make strong.
The people of Yasharallah.
The people of Yasharallah.
Also send unto us.
Also send unto us.
Much knowledge.
Much knowledge.
Much understanding.
Much understanding.
Much patience.
Much patience.
Much faith.
Much faith.
Much brotherhood.
Much brotherhood.
And much love.
And much love.
Spiritual power.
Spiritual power.
And forgive all of our sins.
And forgive all of our sins.
Yahweh shall come quickly.
Yahweh shall come quickly.
For in thee.
For in thee
is our hope.
is our hope.
Always.
Always.
And forever.
And forever.
Amen.
Amen.
Baruch Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Baruch Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Nothing to know.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the law.
Baruch Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Baruch Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Nothing to know. Award.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the light to see.
Baruch Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Baruch Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua.
Nothing to know.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the ram's horn to call the people.
Barak Atah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Barak Atah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Hahawa'ah.
Hahawa'ah.
Nathanael.
Nathanael.
Shaman.
Shaman.
Zayath.
Zayath.
Lamashach.
Lamashach.
Yasharallah.
Yasharallah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
Okay. Psalms 92. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
And thy faithfulness every night.
And thy faithfulness every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
Upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
With the solemn sound.
For thou Yahweh.
For thou Yahweh.
Has made me glad through thy work.
Has made me glad through thy work.
I will triumph.
I will triumph.
In the works of thy hands.
In the works of thy hands.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
How great are thy works.
How great are thy works.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the works of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they should be destroyed forever.
It is that they should be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh.
But thou Yahweh.
Art most high forevermore.
Art most high forevermore.
For lo thy enemies.
For lo thy enemies.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo thy enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
Shall perish.
Shall perish.
All the workers of iniquity.
All the workers of iniquity.
Shall be scattered.
Shall be scattered.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
Mine eye also shall see.
Mine eye also shall see.
My desire.
My desire.
On my enemies.
On my enemies.
And my ears shall hear.
And my ears shall hear.
My desire.
My desire.
Of the wicked.
Of the wicked.
That rise up against me.
That rise up against me.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show that the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
And there is no unrighteousness in him.
And there is no righteousness in him.
Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Psalms 133. Shayar.
Shayar.
Hama'awa.
Hama'awa.
Laduad.
Laduad.
Hanab.
Hanab.
Ma.
Ma.
Tawab.
Tawab.
Wama.
Wama.
Na'ayam.
Na'ayam.
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Akim.
Akim.
Gum.
Gum.
Yachad.
Yachad.
Kashaman.
Kashaman.
Hatawab.
Hatawab.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Arash.
Arash.
Yerad.
Yerad.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Hazakwan.
Hazakwan.
Zakwan.
Zakwan.
Aharad.
Aharad.
Shayarad.
Shayarad.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Payah.
Payah.
Manawathiwa.
Manawathiwa.
Katal.
Katal.
Karamwan.
Karamwan.
Shayarad.
Shayarad.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Haroya.
Haroya.
Kazayawan.
Kazayawan.
Kayah.
Kayah.
Sham.
Sham.
Tazawah.
Tazawah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Habaraka. Kayayim.
Kayayim.
I. Hawalam.
Hawalam.
Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Ba'Shem Yahushai. Psalms 133 in English. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'Shem.
Ba'Shem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rachanao.
Rachanao.
Washwali.
Washwali.
Wabiath.
Wabiath.
Sapari.
Turn.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'Shem.
Ba'Shem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rachanao.
Rachanao.
Washwali.
Washwali.
Wabiath.
Wabiath.
Sapari.
Sapari.
Turn. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'Shem.
Ba'Shem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rachanao.
Rachanao.
Washwali.
Washwali.
Wabiath.
Wabiath.
Sapari.
Sapari.
Turn. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'Shem.
Ba'Shem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
Rachanao.
Rachanao.
Washwali.
Washwali.
Wabiath.
Wabiath.
Sapari. Turn. Rakthei Yahweh.
Rakthei Yahweh.
Rakthei Yahushai.
Rakthei Yahushai.
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 All knowledge,
All knowledge,
all wisdom,
all wisdom,
all understanding,
all understanding,
all mercy,
all mercy,
all patience,
all patience,
all long suffering,
all long-suffering,
all power
power
from Yahweh.
is from Yahweh.
All power
All power
from Yahweh.
from Yahweh.
All power from Yahweh.
from Yahweh.
Ba'Shem.
Ba'Shem.
Yahushai.
Yahushai.
The water.
The water.
The Yad.
The Yad.
Amen.
Amen.
Circle up.
What we said was, we said the Most High, in the name of Christ, bless us and the house of books scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and that's why we went in every direction, because we wanted the Most High to bless all the schools in the house of books all across the globe.
Saluting out in the heavenly order. Yahweh. Wa Yahweh Shai. Wokesh Ara. Myth Israel. Barak.
Yes, what's up? Turn face sisters.
Sisters, please stand. Saluting out the daughters of Zion, men of Israel, Muslim, Barak.
Yes, what's up? Dismissed. Hold up. Israel at the water to the end. See y'all on Monday.
All right.
Shalom.